Gee. Call the meeting back to order. Consent agenda item from this morning, extension of contracts with All Volusia Transports LLC, Little Wagon Aaron Services Incorporated, MetaQuick Transportation Inc., and Meta One Supple Repair Transit Services, 12-P-131-BB.
Donna Butler, Director of Community Services. We pulled this item actually not to talk about this service. This service is going great. What we wanted to talk to you about today really quickly was about some new technology that's available to our Votran riders, and they're called Rider Tools. A lot of really cool things that are being done with our website and online media, excuse me, through the phone, through the smartphones. But before we get to that, you know, that kind of cool cutting edge stuff can't be done without a great leader. And yesterday, Donna DePeister and I had the privilege of sitting in a banquet and watching Mr. Steve Scherer be named the Young Government Local Professional of the Year.
Is this where we get to embarrass him now?
Yep.
It was quite read yesterday and had no idea this was coming today. Luckily, his plaque was misspelled, so we have it here, and it's really outstanding. The outstanding leadership within Volusia Flagler counties. The 2016 business reports, 40 under 40. He knew about the 40 under 40. Local Government Professional of the Year. And we were super proud because he's just a rock star in our organization, and so we were very proud and wanted to let you know. You're going to get a copy of the business report handed to you, but this is his award, and he deserves the kudos. Jeff.
Mr. Scherer, you're recognized if you want to say something.
Well, Steve Scherer, I'm the general manager for Votran, and it was quite an honor just to be nominated for the 40 under 40. And I understand from the discussion yesterday there was 176 people that were nominated to be included in the 40 under 40, and so I was just excited to be nominated, much less be selected. So it was an amazing group of people that I was in the room with yesterday, and quite frankly, didn't quite feel worthy, but it was a good group of folks and quite an honor to be recognized. So thank you very much for the nomination. I appreciate it. But I guess, do we need to approve item 14 first before we go into the technology, or?
We'll go ahead and do the technology,
Okay.
and then we'll go into the next.
All right. So, as Donna mentioned, we've got quite a few new rider tools that we've launched recently, and I wanted to take an opportunity to do a little demonstration for you on what we've got going. But before we do that, we've also have a nice marketing grant that we were able to secure that allowed us to create some television commercials and some print media that's going to be going out to actually promote the rider tools. So if we can go into that, we have two short 30-second commercials that I'd like to show you, and then I'll go into some of the tools real quick.
Never miss the bus in Volusia County again with Votran's new Rider Tools. Rider Tools bring real-time bus and trip planning information to your computer and mobile devices. MyStop Real-Time Bus Tracker, usable from your computer or mobile app, uses GPS technology to track the real-time location of your bus, helps you plan your trip, and provides up-to-date service alerts. With Rider Tools, you can click, download, or text, and never miss your Votran bus again.
So that was one that was
Never miss the
aimed
bus
towards
in
seniors,
Volusia
and this
County
is more of
again
a
with Votran's new Rider Tools.
young person.
Rider Tools bring real-time
aimed
bus
towards
and
the
trip
younger
planning
population.
information to your computer and mobile devices. MyStop Real-Time Bus Tracker, usable from your computer or mobile app, uses GPS technology to track the real-time location of your bus, helps you plan your trip, and provides up-to-date service alerts. With Rider Tools, you can click, download, or text, and never miss your Votran bus again.
All right, so those were two spots that were funded by an FDOT grant. So that was an accomplishment within the organization. We were able to get that funding from the grant, and you'll start seeing those through Bright House through some of the television stations and promoting these tools. But with that, I'll quickly go into a couple of the tools. I'm going to start with the MyStop mobile app. So we're going to switch, and you guys are going to be able to see on the screen what I'm looking at. Okay, so what you now have in front of you is the home screen on my phone, and
Let's stop right there for just a second.
okay,
This is part of the technology that we never had before. This is the first time we've had anybody actually take their phone and be able to put it on the screen and show everybody. I don't think anybody else in this. I don't think anybody else in the state has that capability in their council chambers.
so this is pretty exciting. I get to be one of the first to demonstrate this stuff. So this is
We
the
want
home
to see
screen.
all your emails, though.
You can respond to them if you want to too. I'm just hoping nobody calls me or texts me or anything during this.
You do know it's interactive from our screen.
Hey, take over. Reply to some of those emails. There you go. Okay, so what I'm going to show you is this app right here. This is the MyStop mobile app, and that's an app that was developed specifically for Votran through Avail Technologies. See, there's another email coming in. And so we'll go into the MyStop mobile app, and it's going to bring up a variety of different transit systems. Now, this app is created by our technology integrator called Avail Tech, and Avail has done apps for several different transit agencies. So Votran shows up at the very top, so we'll select Votran, and what it defaults to is all of our different routes. So I thought it would be appropriate if we just scroll down to route number 20, which is the route that operates right outside the building here. So what that does is it brings up the route, and we'll just scroll it down a little bit so that you can get an idea of what we're looking at here. So it shows you where the buses are in real time. So up at the top of the screen, you see the bus, and you can actually click on the bus. It tells you that this, oh, it disappeared. Well, it'll tell you that the bus is either on time. Most of the time, it's on time, but it will tell you where it is. That one's 3 minutes running behind schedule, 3 minutes right now, but it has 18 people on board. Shows you the real-time location of where it is. So if you're planning to go out and catch that bus, you know exactly where it is. And if you were to scroll down into the route, you can actually get real-time information on a particular stop. So this one I just picked randomly, shows you the next arrivals that bus will be there. And again, that's based in real-time technology. So 251, 351, 451. And then it shows that Route 31, which is our route that operates to and from the DeBerry Sunrail station, will also be there at the times listed there below. So pretty neat and handy stuff. Now, also at the bottom, if you notice, it says routes, stops, trips, and alerts. So if you were to select the stops, it'll actually take you to, it'll use the location of where your phone is, and it'll tell you where the nearest stop is. So it tells you that that stop number 2088, right outside the admin building here, is 242 feet away. And if you click on it, it tells you the next real-time arrivals at that stop. And if you notice up in the top right corner, there's a little picture of a pedestrian. It'll actually show you, if you press that button, it'll take you into a Google map that'll show you, give you walking directions on how to get to that stop. So really neat stuff. And I won't go too far into that, but I will also talk about the text for next bus, or the text Vo2Go as we've been calling it. So anybody with a text message capable phone can go out to a Votran bus stop. The bus stop outside this building, one of them is stop number 2088 we just showed you. So if you go into a text and you send that text to the number 321123, 321123. All right, so 321123, and you type VO and the bus stop number. Hit send. Within a matter of seconds, you'll get a text message back that'll tell you the next arrivals at that particular stop. So if you're sitting in the building here and you're planning on catching that bus, you send a text to that bus stop before you decide to go outside. It'll tell you exactly what time that bus is going to arrive, again, based on the GPS technology that's already included in the buses. So at 2:53, Route 20 will be at the stop right outside the building here. So this is, we're really proud of this because there's not many transit agencies in the state of Florida that are doing this type of in-depth technology and providing that type of real-time information to their customers. It's great for the customers. It's also great for us because once all of this is out to the public, we have a challenge from time to time keeping up with the number of telephone calls that come into our dispatch and into our customer service office asking for information about what time a bus arrives at a stop or directions on how to get somewhere. Now, people can get that type of information instantly at the palm of their hand without having to call in and tie up one of the phone lines for our customer service or our dispatchers. So there's other things that can be done. We talked about 3.5 years ago. Councilman Wagner asked me in my first council meeting. He said, "When are you going to get Google Transit?" That was one of his big concerns, and we've now got Google Transit as well. So anytime that you go into a Google map, you can plan a trip by car, you can plan a walking trip, or you can plan a trip by transit, and it'll pull up VoTrans information as well. So a lot of great technology that's out there and available to our customers, and we're pretty excited about that. So be glad to answer any questions if anybody has any.
We have any questions? Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 14, entertain a motion. Have a motion to approve the contracts with All Volusia Transport, Little Wagon Air and Service, MedQuick Transportation, Med1 Shuttle for paratransit services. And a second, is there any debate? Any objection to the motion? Without objection, show the motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I just want to also mention that Jay Cassens, who's our Director of Business Development at the airport, you've met Jay. Jay was also recognized as in the 40 under 40. So we want to make sure that we give a shout out to Jay. And way to go, Steve.
Next up is item 24, the half marathon update and presentation of beneficiary check to the Marine Science Center.
As you know, Mr. Chair, this event we had, despite us having some cold weather and some wind, okay, a high tide and a train that all came, we made it through everything to be a big success. We exceeded our goal of over 2,700 people. And we're really poised, I think, for a really big future. And what we promised here was that if we made anything from the race, that we would try to give some of that profit to the Marine Science Center. And today, we had about $31,000, and so we're presenting a check to the Marine Science Center for $15,000. Joanne?
Good morning, Joanne Magley, Community Information Director, and thank you for having me today. Before we get into the check presentation, we want to give you just a few stats on the race numbers, and we're going to kick that off first with a video.
Never giving in, giving up's not an option, gotta get it in. Witness, I got the heart of 20 men. No fear, go to sleep in the lion's den. That glow, that spark, that crowd. You're looking at the king of the jungle now. Stronger than can't hold me down. 100 miles gunning from the pitcher's bow. Straight game face, it's game day. See me running through the crowd, feeling melee. No trick plays, I'm Bill Gates. Take a genius to understand me.
Come here to Daytona. Come to Daytona and run it. A great event. We like it.
Can't wait to do it again.
Beautiful. This is one of the most scenic half marathons in the country. Just being here, being away from New England in the snow is good enough too.
Weather good, but the rain caused a little bit challenging and the weather, but it was good.
Got a really cool medal. It's so fancy, smancy. I love it.
Did you come for the bling?
I did. That is clearly why I came, just for the bling. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful race. Lindo, muy lindo. Vengan todos.
Gotta love the life that we live in. I get a good feeling, yeah.
Woohoo!
All right, so that's a little video recap of the half marathon. You saw some stats in that video, but I just want to recap them. We had 2,748 people registered, and that represents 62.5% growth over 2014, the last time we did it. So a breakdown of those numbers: 1,598 half participants and relay, and 1,150 did the lap the track. So I want to throw in just a couple comments that we received from our runners. You heard it on the tape, but here's just a few more. Thanks for an amazing race. Another person said, the race was so well put together from sign up to finish. I see larger crowds in the future. Another person said, excluding the weather, which you cannot control, we had a blast. And then finally, the last person said, this was definitely worth the drive from Central Kentucky. Great job to everyone involved, the volunteers, police, organizers, everything was fantastic. So we had just a great response from the people who participated, like Mr. Deneen said, despite the cold, rainy weather in the beginning. So here's some more stats to break it down. Now this only is for half marathon, not 5K. 887 people were from outside of Volusia County. And of that number, 305 were from out of Florida, 28 different states, and 7 other countries. 45% of the participants were men, and 55% were women. Of the men, 70% were age 40 and over. Of the women, 62% were 40 and over. And combined, 66% were 40 and over. So it's a great demographic that we were looking for and that we got. As Mr. Deneen mentioned, when we first began organizing the half marathon, we named the Marine Science Center as the beneficiary. And so a few weeks ago, you all received the financials, which included the line item of the $15,000 to the Marine Science Center. So to help present the check to the Marine Science Center today is Anna Donaldson from Florida Hospital. Anna, if you come down. Florida Hospital was one of our presenting sponsors at the level of $25,000. Along with Brown & Brown, and Brown & Brown could not have a representative here today because much of their team is in Nashville for their annual meeting. So I'd like to have Anna just say a few words.
Hi, thank you for having me. So before I started with Florida
Could
Hospital.
we have your name and address, please, for the record?
Address?
Your name and address for the record.
Oh, yes, sir. Anna Donaldson, Florida Hospital, and it's, way to put me on the spot. It's 700 West Granada Avenue.
Florida Hospital is okay.
Oh, Florida Hospital. Yes, sir. So before I started with them, I actually worked for a race team, and I always looked forward to coming down and doing the Daytona Half Marathon. It was something that teams, drivers, everyone looked forward to on Daytona 500 qualifying day. So as this kind of fell into my lap as one of the first projects, it was really exciting to see it take place or take shape over the course of this past year. So we're excited that we're able to give back to the community and that this partnership really aligned with what we were trying to do at the Speedway, and that's inspire the community to live happier, healthier lives.
Okay, so if Kelly and Michael can come forward.
Well, Michael Brothers Marine Science Center, 100 Lighthouse Drive in Ponce Inlet, just to make sure you all know how to get there. So the Marine Science Center is so pleased to have the benefit of this incredible race. I mean, what a wonderful event this was. It was great to be out there representing the Marine Science Center that day. Even in the weather, it was still an incredible event. And we're so appreciative of the ability of the proceeds of this to come and assist the development of the Marine Science Center, which is continuing to just grow every day. Thank you very much.
I have a daughter that runs marathons and half marathons, and she couldn't come up for this one. But I did ask her one time why she ran, and she said, for the beer.
Right. That's right. She's a runner.
Next up, item number 25, concurrence with appointment of Patricia Boswell, MPH, as Administrator of the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County. Ms. Butler.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Chair, members of council. Donna DeMarch Butler, Community Services Director. Bonnie Sorensen, our longtime Health Department Director, retired April 1st, so it's been almost a year since we've had an administrator at the helm at the Health Department. We've had an interim administrator during that time. We actually started this search while Bonnie was still here. But the Health Department, as you know, is really important to Volusia County. It maybe not have the same relationship in other counties across the state, but not only do you commit a lot of general fund dollars, but even on our organizational chart, the Volusia County Health Department is listed as almost like a division within the Department of Community Services. And we're really pleased that we have the opportunity to have you concur with the State Surgeon General's appointment. County staff was involved in the interview process, and then Ms. Boswell also had an interview with the State Surgeon General. So to formally present Ms. Boswell to you today is Kim Barnhill. She's the Deputy Secretary for County Health Systems for the Florida Department of State. Kim?
Please identify yourself.
I'm Kim Barnhill. I'm Deputy Secretary for County Health Systems with the Florida Department of Health. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today your next health officer. I'm very pleased to represent our State Surgeon General, Dr. John Armstrong. And you've probably recognized that it has taken us a little longer than usual to find a replacement for Dr. Bonnie Sorensen, who did an exemplary job for many, many years here in Volusia County. I want to thank Jim Deneen and his staff for their assistance in this whole process. As you probably know, Florida statute requires concurrence by the county commission when the candidate is selected. I want to thank Mr. Ron Rondo, who has served admirably in an interim role as the health officer at the Volusia County Health Department. So if we could just give him a round of applause. So the selected candidate is Ms. Patricia Boswell, who currently works in the Department of Health in Pinellas County as an assistant director. She has 2 master's degrees, one in policy science and another in public health. She is a highly credentialed and highly qualified. I think that one of the reasons it took us an extraordinarily long time to find a replacement for Dr. Sorensen is because she left some very large shoes to fill. We have found that person, and without hesitation, I recommend to you Patricia Boswell as your next health officer.
Good afternoon, Patricia Boswell. Thank you, members of the council, Mr. Deneen, Mr. Eckert. I'm excited to lead the health department and serve the residents here in Volusia County. I look forward to meeting all the staff and our county partners, including community partners. I want to begin by building a better understanding of the community health here and help to identify and understand the disparities we're facing in health. And then by working together with the county and my community partners, continuously work to improve community health. We share a common mission with you and our community partners to create the conditions in which everyone has an opportunity to be healthy. I look forward to working with you together to create our best possible future. Thank you. I was asked to give you a little bit of an update on Zika. I know that Mosquito Control will be here shortly to give you their perspective of what's happening with Zika. I'll provide a short update from the public health perspective. So it's been in the news, and we're here to protect the health. It's a viral illness transmitted primarily by mosquitoes. It was originally identified in Southeast Asia and Africa back in the 1940s. We've had some outbreaks going on since 2007, mostly in South and Central America. The mosquitoes that carry that virus, the Aedes aegypti, they're common here in Florida and throughout the southeast of the United States. Generally, the symptoms will be mild, and only about 1 to 5 people will ever show symptoms, such as fever, rash, joint pain, and those will last for about 7 to 10 days. CDC is now examining the link between the virus and maybe harm to unborn babies exposed during pregnancy. And there might also be an association between a paralyzing disease referred to as GB. As of yesterday, we had 44 cases here in Florida, including 4 pregnant women, none here in Volusia County. All of the cases are travelers associated. And basically what I plan to do, the action I'm going to take is work with your mosquito control and educate the public. We want to hold constant communication and joint messaging. We want to make sure that we get the message out to drain and cover, which means any standing water needs to be dumped, and people really need to understand the importance of when they're outdoors, when they're going to plan to be outdoors, to use repellent or cover with clothing. There's a hotline available for our residents to call. Florida has asked for and received the testing kits, including the antibody kits for pregnant women. And as I said, my priority will be to meet with mosquito control and work with our epidemiology and surveillance staff. Thank you again for your concurrence.
Councilmember Cusack?
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, I need a motion to.
I move for the concurrence with the appointment of Patricia Boswell as Administrator of the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
We have a motion. Second? Is there a second? Is there any discussion, any debate, any objection to the motion? Without objection, show the motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, item 26, Daytona Lagoon Improvement Plans.
Mr. Vice Chair, Robert Doan from the County Attorney's Office. Don Poor asked me and allowed me to help introduce some folks that I got the pleasure of working with for a couple months. If you'll remember back in about August, we did an amendment to the lease out at Daytona Lagoon. And I'm here to introduce the new ownership group. They were a pleasure to work with. What they are doing and what they're company about is pretty unique. They're here to tell you about their plans for the park. Daytona Lagoon LLC is the sort of a corporate child of United Parks LLC, headed up by Jack Falfus, who's here today. His son Brock actually is the general manager of the park. And the other corporate parent is Purchase Capital LLC, headed up by Nicholas Singer. Between Nick and Jack and their experience in project funding and then the operational side of amusement park, very exciting to see what they're going to do about Daytona Lagoon. So I want to introduce Nicholas Singer, and I'll let him introduce the rest of the team.
Thank you. Please identify yourself and for the record.
Sure. Nicholas Singer, Purchase Capital, and one of the owners of United Parks. Thank you, Council, for the time today and giving us the opportunity to come in front of you. We view Volusia County as our partner, and so we're happy for you guys to see the faces associated with Daytona Lagoon. United Parks basically goes and buys amusement parks and water parks across the country that are tired and worn and restores them to prominence. We are delighted that we found the opportunity to buy Daytona Lagoon, which we closed this fall, and we are now embarking on a $2 million upgrade of the facility. The CEO of United Parks is Jack Falfus, and Jack has over 40 years in the amusement park business. Many people consider him the Babe Ruth of managing amusement parks. So with that, let me introduce Jack Falfus.
Well, thank you, folks. And, it's an honor to be here before the council. I hope it's not as strict and a straight line as the first time I met Mr. Deneen, and he told me exactly what the standards were that he wanted, and thankfully and hopefully they're the same. Sometimes what Nick refers to me as, if you knew what Babe Ruth was, he swung for the fences, but he was big and portly too. And I think he likes to say that. We are honored to be part of the Daytona Beach and Volusia County community. There, we've been participating in many of the chambers with hospitality and visitors group, and I've got to say, if we can live up to the standards of what the convention center is doing with all the different groups. My residence is right now usually in the Plaza or the Hilton Hotel, which I stay a lot at for weeks on end, but there's always a different group in there. We want to partner very seriously with Feed the Children that's being started up by Judy Windisch. And I am going to take the opportunity to introduce my son, who I'm very proud of, who's going to be the GM, and he's relocated here to Daytona. But the one thing I want to say, and he's going to do the improvements that we're working on right now, but the first thing I say is the number one complaint I got when I got here, and everybody said, is that bucket doesn't work in that children's play area. Well, I can promise you, what we're putting in is 2 buckets there, and it will work. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my son, Brock Falfus, who is now a resident of Volusia County. Brock?
How's it going? My name is Brock Falfus, Daytona Lagoon General Manager. I just want to say thank you to the council for allowing me to come up here. First off, we are obviously doing a bunch of additions. The first thing we're going to do coming up very soon is we're adding a brand new ropes course. You'll be obviously tied in, kids very safe. That's our main concern. Going back to there would be safety. So we'll be going over all of that and making sure they can climb all through structures. Next, we'll be adding Ellis lifeguards. They're Ellis and Associate lifeguards, which is a whole management team. Just 1 in 5 kids dies due to drowning, which is very sad, but we are very well aware of that stat. And the one thing we want to make sure of is that our guards are diligent, paying attention to the water more than anything. So with on top of that, we're redoing all of our food amenities within inside of the facility. I know that's been some concerns lately in the news that you've heard of. So we're making sure with food contamination, those type of things, we're making sure we're safety first and that we've cleaned out the entire facility. On top of that, we have new Star Wars games. Everybody knows that's going on. We've added a brand new Jurassic Park game. Anything within our arcade, lights, birthday party room, that's a brand new LED room that nobody's kind of really seen. We've got that coming as well. A bunch of just new ideas to really freshen up the place. I'm a brand new, obviously, resident to the area. I live in Ormond Beach, and it's great to see that the area itself is really growing, and you can see the construction starting. So we just continue to want to be a part of that, and hopefully United Parks and Daytona Lagoon can grow with the future of the city, the county, and everybody as a part. So thank you very much.
Just Ms. Cusack, you have questions? Oh, okay. Does anybody have any questions? Welcome.
Hey,
Welcome.
thank you very much, and like I said, thank you.
Jim?
I want to add a couple of comments. First of all, yeah, I'm pretty particular about what we get over there. When I first got here, we inherited some problems on that facility. We straightened all those out and made it work. I'm very encouraged by this group. I think that we run our facility with quality. We expect quality, and I'm convinced that you'll deliver. I know in talking to the hotels down there, this is an important asset for those hotels. The better run it is, the more family run it is, the more it's connected to our convention center, the more it's connected to those hotels is going to be really important to the community. I'm really impressed by your credentials, and I know you're going to do the right thing and put the resources that need to be put into that park. So we really welcome you, and I'm very satisfied that that they came on board. Thank you.
Mr. Wagner?
Thank you.
I was just going to point out, here's my 3 season passes from last year. I've ordered my 4th because now my 2-year-old is 3. We live on the little section with the bucket because they won't go on the slides yet, which is okay. But it's interesting, we have season passes, the 4 of us, to Disney World. We go there quite often. But we don't use the Disney World water parks. We actually use the Daytona Lagoon as our water park.
Perfect.
So we don't use those at all. We think the water park's great. I think the refreshing of it is really nice. I'm glad to see you guys put some money into it. But overall, it's highly utilized. Everyone there is having a great time. The little areas with the you'll find out is everyone's looking for the shade.
Yeah.
That's why those little tikis I'm glad to have those. So great to see you guys in town. I'm glad to see you put forth the money and the investment in our community. Welcome to the area.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll like it a lot. It's a neat place to live. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
One thing I
you
guess
for
I forgot there with you saying that too, just by the way, is we're going to fingerprint system for the entire passes. So
Oh, nice.
you'll see that as well. And we'll carry little passes around. On your
Well, I already
finger.
paid for new passes. I just haven't picked them up yet. So.
Perfect. I'll get you all set up.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much.
You just wanted to brag about having annual passes. That's
Trust me, those passes are a little easier to stomach than the Disney ones. So.
Thank you very much for coming today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen. Okay. Item number 27, our mini budget workshop. And Ms. Butler, you're back.
I'll start this one off.
It's pretty cool.
Donna, you getting ready? All right. I put this on the agenda because the council requested at the last meeting that we asked Chet Bell, Randy Croy, and Ray Salazar to come in and give us an overview of their comments, which they did to the roundtable. And also talk to the editorial board. What we did, though, to start this off, and I am very pleased by the work from my staff, especially Donna and Tammy. One of the questions that had been asked for a while, and the council had asked, and I can name all of you, Mr. Daniels, Joyce specifically, had always said, which is what we need to do, identify exactly what we spend. And then one of the other things that I asked the staff to do was to identify in the money we spend that relates to this issue in the community of homelessness and home ownership, was to try and identify not only the money that we spend by grants, but our general fund, and then funds that in some ways are maybe related to us that are actually separate funds, whether it's COC or the 3 cities that get individual CDB grants. I asked our staff to also identify within the funds we control what funds or what portion thereof could be flexed in a different manner if we wanted to. What areas do we have some ability to maybe change how we spend that money to alternate opportunities? Now, because all the money is being spent now with programs, it would mean making a choice in some ways. If you change your mind and you want to go to another direction, it's going to mean defunding something to fund something else, which may be the right thing to do. I do believe that was part of the discussion that both Chet, Randy, and Ray some of the comments they made was maybe we need to, as a collective, redirect how we're actually spending money. As part of that, what I think you'll see today, and the reason I wanted Donna to do this first, is to kind of lay out for the community of what we spend, because I don't think hardly anybody at all has any feel for how much money comes through this county and how much we actually use of our general fund, and in what categories. I know that I've shown this now to a couple of people and went to talk to the editorial board, and I'll be honest with you, I think they were genuinely surprised. And I'm glad to say that I think that we were able to produce it. I think it'll be a fundamental tool that we'll be able to use while we start having the future discussions, which I think this council is now coming to, is maybe a reconsideration about how we tackle this problem, especially for chronic homeless. Donna?
Thank you, sir. Members of the council, Donna DeMarche Butler, Community Services Director. So we've entitled this PowerPoint for you, and some of this is going to be repeat information from the one we did last year. But this is an overview for potential policy redistribution. Any changes that are made to how we spend money will be a policy decision made by you all. So you're very familiar with the services that we provide, and so for the past 5 years, here's a nice little list for you. You're familiar with the food and transitional and permanent housing, jail diversion, rent and mortgage assistance. And then again, you're pretty familiar, I believe, with all of our grant programs. You see them coming through on your agendas month after month as we renew those grant funds that come through. Grant programs for at risk of homelessness, housing programs, and rental assistance. So here's where we get to some numbers. I think I went too fast. Expenditures for homelessness prevention. $10 million has been spent in the past 5 years. $1.4 million is budgeted for this year for homeless prevention services. So dollar amounts for those 5 years in each of these grant funds and the general fund. We've got general fund with the Children and Families Board, recommendations to you all, and general fund under Human Services. So let's talk about numbers and how we currently spend our money and the positive impact that has been. So ESG, Emergency Shelter Grant Funds, that's primarily been spent on rental assistance. The CSBG, and that was 11,242 people that we helped over the past 5 years. CSBG, Community Services Block Grant, rental and utility assistance. The general fund is part of our Children and Families Advisory Board. General Fund for Human Services, this is rental and utility assistance. CDBG, agency operating expenses that went to agencies that are in the business of preventing homelessness. And then LIHEAP and EHEAP are utility. So 130,000 people were assisted over the past 5 years for homelessness prevention. And preventing someone from being homeless is much more effective than getting them from homeless into a home. So housing expenditures, $25 million over the past 5 years. $12 million for homeowner housing programs, $13 million for rental housing programs. $6 million is budgeted for this year. So what does that really do for our community? Well, homeowner housing is first-time home buyers. Folks that are low to moderate income have the opportunity to get into a home for the first time with some down payment assistance. Homeowner rehabilitation, usually older folks that have a roof coming down over their head, or their plumbing's gone out, or their well's gone out. This is our ability to go in and fix some smaller rehabilitations. In some cases, we're flattening the house and building on the same footprint a new house that they can live in and be safe. And then we acquire, rehabilitate, and resale under the NSP program. So numbers, 133 first-time home buyers were assisted with purchasing a home. 169 owner-occupied, rehabilitated, 11 new homes, and 80 foreclosed homes were purchased. Rental housing, this is rental subsidy, jail beds, acquisition, rehab of rental units. So you see the numbers here. 10 single-family rental units were created or rehabilitated. We had 465 bed nights under the jail diversion program, and over almost $400,000 were spent on improvements with some of our homeless facilities in the community. So, pretty shocking when you put that together. $35 million in 5 years you committed for us to manage programs that either provided homeless prevention, homeowner housing, or rental housing. That's a significant contribution to our community. So, that sounds really big. We have 35 million. We could spend all of that on homelessness, right? Wrong. So we're going to identify now by grant where you have some flexibility, because there are a lot of stringent rules that come with these grant funds. So these are the grants that we're going to talk about next are those that the county receives that we have some flexibility for homeless activities. So Emergency Solutions Grant, it's a federal grant. The estimated allocation for the coming fiscal years, approximately $153,000. We currently use it for rapid rehousing, a program that most of you are familiar with. That is deposit assistance and rent assistance, utility deposit and utility assistance for folks to get back in safe, clean housing. But the alternate uses, if you decided to go a different direction, the most that we can spend is $92,000 of that $153,000. And there's a list here of those things that we could use those funds for. Community Development Block Grant, again, a federal grant. This is a much trickier grant. The $1.7 million, right off the top, 53% goes to cities as part of the HUD allocation process. And no more than 15% of the entire allocation of $1.7 million can be utilized for public services, which is operating costs or direct services to clients. So a lot of folks say, well, we could use our CDBG money. We'd have to take the 15% back from our cities in order to do this, and 15% of that total allocation is only $255,000. And here's the catch, it can only be used one time. It cannot be used for ongoing operating expenses. So under our alternate uses, we currently provide public facility and housing project delivery costs, so we build some roads or sidewalks. And the alternate uses are listed here, and the amount available is only $449,000 for those alternate uses. Rental assistance could be done, shelter, rental housing. So we could actually build shelter, but again, it's one time, one project, so you're limited at $459,000. On the following page are some uses that county has used those funds for. Excuse me. Here's the allocations that go to the cities. You'll see all of those listed here. We wanted to note that Ormond Beach has really gone out of their way for the past couple of years, and they provide very small amounts, but still significant to these organizations. $5,600 in operating expenses for Halifax Urban Ministries, and $3,500 for their HMIS support for the Volusia Flagler County Coalition for the Homeless. Community Development Block Grant, these are some more samples of city projects. Generally, they're construction projects that improve low-income areas of their communities. Okay, the Home Grant, Home Investment Partnerships Program, otherwise known as HOME, is a federal.
Chair.
Sorry.
Could you go back to that slide?
Which the last one on the CDBG?
Yes.
Okay.
Page 19.
Yes, ma'am.
This is the CDBG funds that is passed through here, or does this come from the city of DeLand? These, like the Chisholm Center Gym Rehab?
Right. So they come from the federal government to the county, and we distribute them to the cities. They have to fill out an application, and we ensure that they're meeting the HUD guidelines, but other than that, we don't have a say in what they do. So as long as they meet HUD guidelines.
It comes from item would be from the portion that the city of DeLand has.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, the Home Grant, relatively small in the big picture of federal funds that we receive, $500,000. We do a lot with it, though. Down payment assistance, low-income homeowner housing rehabilitation, TBRA, which a lot of people are familiar with. It's sort of a short-term Section 8. We provide rental assistance based on a person's ability to pay. But if we change that, our alternative uses, the estimated available is $414,000, and we could provide things like rental assistance, transitional housing, or rental housing. SHIP. Most people are familiar with SHIP, State Housing Initiatives Partnership. SHIP gets kind of confusing sometimes because it's part of a bigger pot of funds called the Sadowski Trust Funds. And the Sadowski Trust Funds, one part of those funds are SHIP dollars. We have very strict guidelines from the state as to what we are able to spend those dollars on. It's very exciting. We got back up to $1.7 million because we had, in the downturn in the economy, received almost nothing for our SHIP dollars. But we currently do things like home buyer purchase assistance, homeowner housing rehabilitation, and this is one of those really complicated grants. In terms of alternate uses, we estimate that we would have available $342,000 for rental housing construction, or based on their guidelines, $257,000 for rental assistance. They've got strict guidelines. You have to spend a certain amount, 75% towards a certain purpose, which is construction and rehabilitation. So that only leaves the 25% for the rental assistance. Okay, now we'll go to general fund flexibility. You are all familiar with this page. You annually approve approximately $2.3 million for 10 different contracts, as well as our contingency programming and summer camp scholarships. You should have a supplemental document as well, which provides you more detail on each of the grants going back to ESG and so forth, but also gives you a lot of information about all of the contracts and the numbers served. So that's $2.3 million that you could reprogram to some other purpose. So here we've kind of, taken a whole look at the general fund contribution. So you've got the children and families at approximately $2.3 million. You've got human services, which is rent, utility, burial, Medicaid, and that's approximately $1.5 million. And then you've got alcohol, drug, and mental health funds. These are state mandated. We are required. We don't get any flexibility in whether or not we pay these. That's $3.3 million. So it's a total of $8 million and some change that you all contribute to homelessness in the community. This year, just for our rent and utility, we anticipate serving 1,300 households with rent and utility and 475 with medical dental. Excuse me. So back on the previous page, one of the, what we call ADM here, alcohol, drug, and mental health funds that we are required to pay is $3.2 million to Stuart Marchman. So a lot of questions are asked, well, how much do we actually give to Stuart Marchman? It seems like they keep coming up. Well, we provide a great deal of funds, but they're the primary provider of alcohol and drug mental health services in the community. ADM, which is listed here again, 3.2, that is state mandated. The jail diversion program provides $484,000, and you heard about the number of beds that it provides. The Law Enforcement Trust Fund, we don't have any control over. JAG grant funds, those are competitive funds. And then drug court and DUI court fines. So the only area that we have flexibility is the jail diversion and that contribution. Okay, so now we're going to get into funds that we cannot determine the potential policy redistribution. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I sure know the other part better because there are funds that we manage. However, you know, there's been some numbers tossed around in the community about how much is coming into our community and how much we really have to spend, and maybe we need to think differently. And we're totally open to thinking differently about how we spend our money and maybe refocusing it. But we have no control as the county government over the funds that come in through the continuum of care. So you have a list here in front of you of the information that was provided to us from the continuum of care. One of the things that was tossed about in the community, and I'm not sure by whom, was that there was this huge pot of money that was available that really wasn't being spent the way it needed to be spent. And so we asked for a little clarification. And you'll see the dollar, there's an asterisk next to the $200,000. And that $200,000 is received based on a challenge grant where we have to document, where the COC has to document funds that are available to leverage to get that money. And on the next slide, you'll see what they utilized. It's about $4.4 million in other grants that are coming in for homeless purposes into the county, as well as private cash that was collected by other agencies, and all of that can be used as match. What needs to be made clear is that these leverage funds are over 18 months, not over 12, which most grant cycles are 12 months, but because of the varying cycles of the grant funds that come in, it is actually an 18-month perspective. Municipalities. So the list that we showed you of the CDBG cities are those that were not entitlement communities. There are 3 entitlement communities in our county: Daytona Beach, Deltona, and Port Orange. They receive their funds directly rather than through us. They have to follow the same guidelines we do, but they have a total of $2.2 million that come in from the same types of funds to their organizations. Other potential funding, we did not incorporate United Way or Lutheran Services funding. Lutheran Services is the organization that is contracted by the Department of Children and Families to provide the match money, if you will, to the community for alcohol, drug, and mental health services. And this is the slide where we kind of try and sum up everything for you. So in Volusia County, you have, on an annual basis, what we estimate for the coming fiscal year, $6.7 million in grant funds, $6.6 million in general revenue, for a total of $13.4 million. So, but of that, you really only have 4.649 that you can play with. My oversimplified analogy for you all is that if you rob Peter to pay Paul, there are consequences for Peter. So you have the ability to change that, but if you do, some program has to be shifted away and those services no longer provided. Continuum of care, we obviously have no say in that, and we don't know what of their funds are available for alternative uses. Same thing with other local jurisdictions. So with that, I'll answer any questions, and then after I do that, we'll bring up the 3 very wise men to come and share their perspectives with us.
Questions?
Moving straight to the 3 wise men.
Who's up first here? Oh, all right. Just
I'll start off. My name is Chet Bell, 404 Oak River Drive, Port Orange. And I'm here with Ray Salazar and Randy Croy, and just a bit of background. A bit more than a year ago, Randy and Ray and I got involved with the Government Roundtable's Homeless Subcommittee. I'm not exactly sure how that evolved, but we came to the table and joined with Councilman Daniels and Mayor Penny and Mayor Laputka and Pam Woods from the city of Daytona Beach, and have been, I would say, plodding along for the better part of 2015. And then with a lot more energy as events unfolded at the end of 2015 and into the beginning of 2016. Along the way, Randy and Ray and I think we've concluded that in addition to our work with the Roundtable, we felt it was also important that we just kind of speak for the 3 of us with careers in nonprofits to try and add our voice to the many voices that are working in this community trying to solve issues of homelessness. And on 2 fronts, gosh, look at all the progress that's been made. The presentation this morning and the movement forward on Hope Place is nothing short of amazing. The fact that the Salvation Army has brought us to functional 0 in terms of veteran homelessness in Volusia County. But where we stand right now in dealing with chronic homelessness, there's still, everyone would agree around the table here, a great deal of work to be done. We provided to you earlier, and we'd like to provide just a bit more detail about really 7 recommendations that we feel is kind of, I don't know if you call it state of the art, what you want to call it, where we are today. And we're going to save number 1 on our list for last. We'll start with number 2. And given our 3 positions, my point is collaboration. Ray's point is the Commission on Homelessness, and Randy's point is resourcing for chronically homeless services in the community. So we're each going to speak in the areas in which we're kind of taking the lead. And I'll start with point number 2, this homeless strategy work group. Obviously, Joyce Cusack is very familiar with this because she's been participating in this strategy work group. Mr. Deneen has attended the last 2 meetings of the work group. And this recommendation may seem very common sense, but the effort that has come forward since the homeless encampment at the service center in Daytona Beach was addressed in mid-January is largely the work of this strategy work group. And for the first time, all of the providers of homeless services and the county governments that are involved in providing homeless services have been around the table, meeting each week, strategizing, working, and it may seem like a very basic recommendation, but we believe this work group needs to continue and to continue in perpetuity, at least until the point where we can say that also as it relates to chronic homelessness across our community, that we've reached functional zero. And even when that does happen, we're going to continue to need to have this collaboration among all parties that are involved in homelessness in order to maintain the gains that we've achieved. There's a lot of good work going on in that community, in that, I'll call it a community right now. Over the course of the last 6 weeks, almost 200 people have been enrolled in our homeless monitoring system through the Homeless Management Information System, and approaching 90 individuals have moved from homelessness into housing as a result of the work of this group. So we appreciate the county being at the table along with everyone else, and we want to make sure that that activity continues. With that, as we go through these issues, we're going to kind of tag team, so I'll turn it over to Randy.
Good afternoon. I'm Randy Croy. I live on North Oleander Avenue in Daytona Beach on the beach side. So I have some familiarity with homelessness in our neighborhood and in our area, and are equally as concerned as a citizen as I've been as a professional. As Mother Teresa says, if you have no means, you have no ends. So my area was to focus on resources and really in 2 directions. One, how do we assess our current resources and ensure we're using them as efficiently and with as much accountability as possible? And secondly, how do we strategically build new additional resources as a community, as a county, to address the gaps that we have? Donna's presentation is one of those, wow, all of this money, and why do we still have a problem? We're spending a lot of money, and those of us in the field have always known that Volusia County is one of the most generous county governments in supporting social services in the state. And I would guess, from my experience, that one of our challenges is to reprioritize access to care with some of the funds that we have, some of the funds that are administered through the county, because some of the people who are certainly the most high-profile homeless and who are with the greatest needs often are the most difficult to serve. And they have very complex needs. And if there are limited resources, sometimes the providers will deselect people who are too challenging and perhaps admit people whose needs might not be as great. So that's our overall strategy with resources, is to prioritize access to care for the most complex and vulnerable and the people who are costing us as taxpayers a lot of money, and then to seek additional access to care. And I'll give you the one example that we list on your sheet, and that is that the City of Daytona Beach is making application to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Organization for $800,000. The grant application is due March 15th, and it's to provide additional access to care, case management, and specifically additional resources in substance abuse and mental health for very high-risk homeless individuals who are underserved. So we see this as an example of an opportunity that occurs, but generally these funds are very competitive, and communities that receive them have established a collaborative spirit. And part of our role, we believe, is to help further that collaborative spirit. And our hats off to the city and Stuart Marchman Act and Salvation Army for being the core partners in developing this grant. Even if we aren't awarded that grant, which couldn't begin until 2017, we're going to have a model that we can use for future grants and to guide us as a framework going forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ray.
Thank you. Ray Salazar, 2 Pueblo Trail, Ormond Beach. I am a member of serve on the board of directors for the Continuum of Care, and have been doing work with the Coalition on Homeless for years in my past role. So we have seen closely this storming and norming that we've done to be able to get to a point where we have a formal continuum of care. The collaborative applicant, the staff that serves us is the Volusia Flagler Coalition on Homeless. And over the last couple of years under Susan Clark's leadership, it has formed into what exists today, but it continues to be a narrowly focused coalition or commission rather. It really is looking at HUD dollars and the delivery system and the application process and the screening and then the return back into the community by providers. We believe going forward that this continuum of care must be a greater elevated body that looks at the entire community, but missing, and it was a key component, we needed a high-level private sector representation. And we think we've now turned the corner in doing a couple of things. The Continuum met last week and renamed itself the Commission on Homelessness for Volusia and Flagler counties. That's a name change. And that was the easy part. The tough part is then how do we create the structure going forward? How do we give it the mission to be able to be more responsible for all the resources that come into the community that impact the homeless? And then lastly, how do we stay HUD compliant, which is the key element. I think the thing that is important is that we've been able to attract some private sector representation. Sam Willett with the Bank of America has come on board with the Continuum. Sam's present in the audience. And has already provided great vision and leadership going forward. We were also able to identify Jim Rose, who's a prominent attorney in the community, Judge Dave Beck, who has agreed to come on and help us, and then Janet Hamer. Janet is with TD Bank, but previously was the Federal Reserve. We believe this 30,000-foot level of vision will help us be able to manage the resources that are in the community going forward. Jan.
The next issue is one about collaboration, and it gets into one of the sorest points, I think, in this whole discussion, and that is what kind of emergency response do we have for individuals who are homeless and are in need of shelter? And I think to a certain extent, some people see this as kind of an end-all or be-all, that it's the holy grail. But frankly, in the professional literature around homelessness, the provision of shelter really does not change a person's homeless status. A person only moves out of homelessness when they move into housing. So a shelter in and of itself is not the end-all and be-all of working with those individuals who are chronically homeless. And so we've got a lot of different opinions within the community right now regarding A, what should be the size of a shelter, B, where should a shelter be located? Are we talking about one shelter for the county? Are we talking about multiple shelters for the community? We need more data. And right now, as Ray describes it, we have a living laboratory operating because one of the things that came out of the encampment was the city of Daytona Beach, in an emergency response, expanding the number of beds that Salvation Army currently operates for emergency shelter by roughly 60 beds, and they are now operating 86 beds. What we recommend is that as a result of the work of that shelter and from any other source that the commission ultimately can determine it, is to try to get to as close to a precise bed count that's required in this county for crisis response in an environment that emphasizes housing first. And housing first is the notion that says we're going to move people from shelter into housing as rapidly as possible so that we do not have a bottleneck in terms of large numbers of people in shelter. So the numbers that came out of the Marbut study was that there was a need for a 250-bed shelter for the county. We need to look at that again. We need to confirm it or determine if it is a different number. And we'd like to see the Commission on Homelessness bring together the parties in order to develop as much consensus as we can around that particular issue. And as you can see, we'd like to do this. You know, the 90 days of emergency shelter is going to end in late April at the Salvation Army. So we feel we've got to use this experience to try and help us inform us all as to what that number should be for the scope of shelter services in the county by that date or shortly thereafter.
In this regard, our recommendation is also that the use of this data is paramount. I mean, the demonstration and display that Donna DeMarche put up there, it was just expert in being able to recapture those investments that this county is already being made back into our community. Without that level of metric, we're not going to be able to make good decisions going forward. And Donna has presented some opportunities for some very tough decisions going forward for this council and, quite frankly, other communities as well. But in terms of our recommendation in this Commission on Homelessness, we see three critical elements. Once we get that data as closely as we can define our bed utilization rates and all the other things that go on, we think the Commission should convene a meeting of all interested governments, city and county, and other providers, and confirm or revise the Commission's recommendation regarding the number of the required emergency shelter beds. It should review, rank, and determine the location of these of a shelter or shelters, and review, rank, and determine Commission proposed budgets, and really take the data and cost this out so that we can make real decisions and real impact.
And jumping right back into resources then is, thanks Donna and the staff for putting that together for the county. Hopefully the rest of the municipalities are thinking in these terms as well, because there's considerable amounts of public money that is both available and has been committed to helping the homeless. What we haven't had is that integrated planning and strategy that can have the maximum impact that we'd like to have. So one of our recommendations is to work with the county already on board, and the municipalities and the hospital authorities and United Way and the state through Lutheran Services to determine how their funds can be parlayed into a master plan. And of course, inherent in that is we need to be talking with each other about that. And Deltona's needs are going to be different than the needs in Port Orange, and we really need to respect that and hear how we can help meet some of the needs perhaps of just low-income at-risk people in some of our communities, as opposed to solely focusing on the chronic homeless. So that's going to just require, and we're hoping that the Commission on Homelessness is your avenue to feed information regarding that. And ultimately, as Ray has alluded to, we need measurable outcomes and accountabilities. And you need to know from your partners who is delivering the services to the target populations that are important to you. And if they aren't, what do they need in terms of guidance or consultation to deliver those services? And if they're unable to, then perhaps that is the time that you start making decisions regarding, are there other partners available that can meet the needs as you prioritize them? So in closing, we'll go back to number one, the first recommendation, and hopefully we built a case for you to consider this recommendation, because what we're asking people to do is to maintain your current financial commitments that you've discussed thus far. Thank you to Faith and all the advocates to get us to this point where there's been a financial commitment of resources to address the issues of homelessness. And whether that specific plan is accepted or not may not be as important as keeping our resource commitments on the table until we reach a plan that you're comfortable with, but is benefiting all of our partners throughout Volusia County. And I guess with that, unless you guys have something to add, we'll take questions.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you doing this. A lot of us appreciate you being here. I've been blunt and pretty hard on this issue for a couple months. I would not change a thing, as far as what I would ask this council to do, and I appreciate what the council has done, as well as the staff and the manager. And thank you, Donna, for putting this together. It was really nice. First and foremost, we got pressured, beat up, hit pretty hard on this whole Marbit thing. It's perfect example is Hope Place. It was done perfectly. Amen. Handled perfectly. It was professional. It was exciting. And when we voted on it today, I felt good. Mm-hmm. I felt genuinely excited to be a Volusia County councilman. I thought about it last night. I went to bed thinking, really doing something great. You know what I mean? I really, all that, running for office and going through all the stuff you go through is hard, but I felt good. Anytime I deal with this homeless issue that, in my opinion, how Jim Chisholm kind of created this, it's hurt my friendships with city commissioners. I mean, it's really been awful. Sure. Awful. It's been, I think about it, I want to get sick. I think about the individuals that aren't getting treatment, I get sick. I think about the people dying, I get sick. All because, in my opinion, Jim Chisholm just wants them gone. And I don't, and at all levels. I mean, I'm blunt about it because it's hard to deny that with the arrest. It's just how it's done. So along these lines, and Faith has done an exceptional job of trying to get the pieces together without everyone shooting each other. We've kind of lost our way. And the whole idea of this ultimatum was I was fed up. And that's how I told the council that I was fed up of being bullied, being pushed around. When we're continually saying, we're going to provide money, we're going to provide land, we're going to provide resources, provide staff. We want to be exactly what we did with Hope Place. It was perfect. You know, it was a good thing. So my concern is knowing what Daytona or Mr. Chisholm, the city manager, wants to do is have homeless people out of Daytona Beach. Their plan has been so specific to, here's the letter, so specific to Safe Harbor in the sense of a shelter. I guess it'd be an emergency shelter, but a 24/7 shelter, come as you are. The reason I feel comfortable, and I guess the blunt question is, do you feel beholden in any way to location, to relationships, to anyone, that if you come back in, let's say, this couple months, do you feel those restraints at all? Do you feel like the city of Daytona Beach, is there pressure on you where I can feel comfortable so we can get back in a Hope Place environment to where we're all swimming in the same direction? Do you feel that type of pressure? Because Margaret was being paid. You know, there's pressure there. I'm an attorney. I'm paid to advocate. You know, it's just how it is. Do you feel that at all?
I can only speak for myself, and the answer is no. And we, and we've been offered some compensation for our time, and we've refused it because that leaves us unaligned.
Yeah.
And the best interest of the people in need is what's certainly driving me, and it feels like that's what's driven us. Is your interests or the city's interests isn't what drives us. It's the people's
interest
on the streets,
which is
who
what
need
it
some
should.
services.
Yeah. Okay. And I know that's a general question. And go
Well,
ahead. Sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
Let me go back and sing again the praises of what a collaborative effort produced this morning. And I'll go a little further. The model that was used by the Salvation Army, that was funded by the veterans, to be able to come to functional zero in Volusia County and Flagler counties, but the only counties in the state of Florida to house our homeless veterans, that worked. That worked because people were around the table. It wasn't all about ego. It was about serving the homeless. That's what we have an opportunity here. And we think the expanded use of the commission will do this council and do other kind of, the city governments will do it well.
Now, specifically, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm anti-Jim Chisholm. I won't lie to you, I'm still a little mad. But will part of this process take Pottinger into consideration and what Daytona wants to do? Because if they're going to do any type of arrest, if they're going to do any type of forcefully going to a shelter or location, there are certain requirements that are going to have to be met. Is that part of the discussion with you? Is that part of the thought process of what Daytona is looking for, or is it more generalized?
I wouldn't say Pottinger, at least in our discussions, has been in the forefront. We do believe that a shelter is part of a system of care in the community. And the nature or the issue is its scope, its location, those sorts of things. But I think no matter where we go with that, what we're going to end up with is something that's Pottinger compliant. Yeah. And so for that reason, we haven't spent much time talking about that issue.
Okay. But it is, as long as it's being considered, it would make me feel more comfortable. And I've spoken to you specifically about that. You know, I came in here, if this was 2 weeks ago, you know, with letting it die, it did die. I mean, in my opinion, we haven't voted, so things dead. I'm probably more general than maybe other council members, but to let you know where I'm at, you answer my questions. I appreciate you guys. I really do. Thank you. I think you can get us back to that Hope Place type feel, type partnership. I still think Daytona, if we're going emergency shelter, should pay a significant amount, more than the county, personally, for what they want to do. But I don't know where the other council members want to be as far as funding is concerned. I put it on the record that I specifically would go beyond just the 400 or the 4 million, that I would do 3 million, that I would consider 400,000 a year. So it's almost, in my opinion, I guess, yes, I'd be there, but I don't know if I want to get in a specific situation, because I feel like I'm putting myself right back in the same situation of, we're kind of setting ourselves up, and Jim and I have talked about this, of the shelter discussion almost got in the way of the homeless discussion. And I feel like if we continue to say, okay, we'll provide the land, we'll provide, whatever it may be, it's almost, I feel more comfortable just saying, I'm on board with even more than that previous discussion. You just got to explain to me why it makes sense. And I don't know if, it's not like we can do that in a memo, but it's hard for me to say, I'm there. I just don't want to box. I don't want to put myself in a box again. And that's what I'm concerned about. What do you guys think about that?
I believe we need to get a little more engagement from our other municipalities. So it's not just Volusia County and the city of Daytona Beach. We know DeLand and Bob Apgar, they're working on some really constructive, proactive strategies, and we need to engage all of our communities in the dialogue. So we're trying to stay away from the counties and cities the issues, but any money you spend, I believe, that we spend as taxpayers, I believe that it needs to be vetted very carefully. In my experience as executive director of Serenity House and Haven Recovery Center is when I came to the county for money, Mr. Deneen was pretty clear about the detail that I needed to explain before the first nickel was discussed. And that's an important role, and I hope you continue to look at the funds for the homeless with the same microscope that you looked at the funds that we applied for.
Yeah, and to my fellow council members, I guess as we have a discussion and you ask questions, I'm still there to do something. Obviously, we already do it under certain programs, but when it comes specifically to number one, if you could kind of tell me where you're at, just because I'm just afraid to box ourselves in again. I want to support it. I want to do what we can to make it happen. So if one of you have some suggestions how to do that, Doug, I know you probably put a lot of thought with the roundtable on that. I'm on board with whatever we need to do to move this forward in a more Hope Place type model. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Again, sincerely appreciate your time and your efforts. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Denny's.
Thank you. Okay,
Miss, I have number 2 on my screen.
Well, you do now. She was up front. You're next after her.
Somehow she
Is that
jumped
possible?
ahead.
Because
I
I'm
have
just
no
reading it right
control.
off the list here.
It's okay. It's okay. But something happened because I
Okay.
was.
Ms. Cusack, would you like to go first?
No, that's okay.
I'm going to go on the record that I am still with no operating dollars. The message that we sent with Hope Place this morning was that you had complete buy-in from the council. We made an agreement with capital infrastructure dollars. We're in and we're out and we're done. And I think that has not changed, and that led to its success. One of the other successes, the reason they were so successful was they had buy-in from the community before they even took it out into the community. They had a vision and they had a champion. What's been missing from this is a champion. Maybe the three of you are the champions. Somebody has to be.
I think that formation of the Commission on Homelessness will provide that neutral, convener champion you're looking for.
Well, it's more than that. There's personality involved with this, because trust me, there's been enough personality and politics in this to kill it. And it's going to take that to revive it, very genuinely. Because what Councilman Wagner was saying, I will tell you this morning, the comments that I got from 2 faith participants, flat out said, after the morning, how come you're not supporting Safe Harbor? I said, excuse me. Why is the county trying to kill it? I said, do you understand? We're at the table with $4 million in land. Well, that's not enough. Why aren't you bringing the cities to the table? That type of diatribe and vernacular will kill this quicker than anything. I will tell you that right now. I'm over that. I am over that militaristic, vitriolic approach. That does not build collaboration, especially when you're asking for millions of dollars in land. That's not the right approach. So that's just my editorial opinion. I'm going to go on from there, but that's how you kill this going forward. So you do need personality. It is political. Don't think it is. We're all government agencies. Every municipality involved is a government agency, and they're political, as are the leaders. So we talked about the elected leaders roundtable, and when we looked at those council members, when we looked at all those different grants, there's cities that also receive these grants, like the CDBG grants. I think they need to be forthcoming with where their dollars are and where they're flexible. Because when you looked at the county and all those dollars, and I used to serve, as you know, Ray and Chet and Randy, on the Children and Families Advisory Board. When we give out grants and we look at those, there's only a certain pot of dollars. So if we're going to be flexible, if we've identified some areas we can be flexible, okay, well, you take a balloon, you know where this is. You take the balloon and you poke it and say, okay, I'm going to take that. Well, you're going to lose this. So if we're going to be flexible, council members, on this dollars, we also have to determine what programs we're not going to fund. Women and children, preschool, after school, seniors. I mean, there's going to be a cost to flexibility. And to expect the council to just take those dollars and make those decisions without input, you cannot put us in that position, because they're committed dollars. We have agencies currently that we're funding at these levels. So to flex that and move it to another pot, then you have to tell us where that other need no longer exists, because it's out there. So I would like to see at the elected leaders roundtable with all the cities disclose, work on a report of where they're currently spending their CDBG dollars, and the rest of, just like you saw, there's a metric, it's a good metric. That can be a fill in the blank. Identifying funds, I just talked about that, the current funds to defund. In the shelter, are you talking about, I don't know the population, if you're identifying just men, if the population served is going to change. I don't know if and you don't have to answer that now, but my questions, are you just going to be serving a certain population like Safe Harbor was? And are you looking at existing structures? Another reason Hope Place was so successful is because they took a building that existed, that put it light years ahead for success and implementation. And that's the other thing that we're up against. We're all up against. We want it to succeed, but there is issue fatigue out there. There's issue fatigue. So we need to, I think, this fresh breath of fresh air and putting you in the forefront, and I am going to call you the champions. I'm not going to call it an agency, because you put a bureaucracy in charge yet again, we will be right back where we were. And I'm going to share this with you. I got one copy for you too, gentlemen. Last night I happened by accident to talk to a lady in Southeast Volusia. Council members, I'm going to pass this down. It was just one of those circumstances. She didn't know who I was. But she had a lady who was mentally challenged with her. The lady's 42 years old. This family from Volusia County, her parents put her out in the street last year because they got tired of dealing with her, literally. She gets a Social Security disability check of about $695 a month. A very nice gentleman offered to let her sleep in his hotel floor if she gave him all his money. Once they realized what was happening to this woman, without getting graphic, they said, we've got to do something. And these are all churches, by the way, ministries. This in Southeast Volusia is every emergency helpline, emergency contact, family shelters, every day of the week where you can get a hot meal, every day of the week where you can get a cold meal, the food pantries, how to get rents for utility and help. But to the point where this lady said, she's spending the night with me here tonight because on the 3rd of every month I take her shopping because she can't add and subtract and they steal her money. So I watched and I listened. I mean, this is the face of what we're talking about. We talk numbers. This is an actual case. And I stood and she looked at me. I couldn't even talk. I was just listening to this. But the abuse that happens, and I looked at this lady. I said, I said, I think it would be easier if I found a puppy to have a pet adopted and sheltered. She said that is the absolute truth. So I applaud you for what you're doing. Please understand, hear me. We want to be successful the same way Hope Place was. I'm willing to work with you. I'm open to however this changes and moves, the moving parts, but I'm not willing to go back to that other conversation and that other structure and the way that was presented and challenged. I won't do that at all. So I want to encourage you, because I believe we can get there. I do. I absolutely believe we can get there. But I'm only in for operating dollars, and we walk away. And there has to capital. Excuse me, capital. Hello, thank you. Now, see, there you go. The coin dropped. the capital dollars. So I'm sharing that with you, gentlemen, because I think I want you set out for success. I want the county, I want the municipalities, but it's time that everybody's got to be forthright with the reporting of where the dollars are. No more finger pointing. And so I wish you success. That's all I'm going to say about this. I really have no questions other than it's just too much philosophical stuff.
Can I say one thing just in response? We understand when we say that the offers that are currently on the table remain on the table, our understanding of what the county's offer is capital dollars. That's our understanding of where we are. And so we want to be very, very clear about that. That's our understanding.
My final comment, and I'm going to pass this on to my colleagues. I'd like to hear what they say. There's a saying that says, write the vision, make it plain, so all that read it can run with it. Habakkuk 2:2. We need a vision that we can read and we can run with, and you'll have complete buy-in, and I believe we'll get there, very genuinely, I do.
Ms. Cusack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation you presented to us today. I believe that we are beginning to, for me, I believe that we should keep the offer on the table for capital. And I'm not ingrained in as much as what that amount should be. I would like to see some flexibility in those dollars. I believe that this Commission on Homelessness is moving in the right direction. And we have a letter here from the city of Daytona Beach, who is moving, I think, toward trying to be a good steward, a team player, if you will. And we have, as county government, have to do our part to make that happen. We do need a piece of that puzzle to try to eradicate as much as possible homelessness. Must be collaboration and cooperation with all major pieces. That includes the cities. That includes the community redevelopment block grant funding. It includes accountability, and that accountability must come from cities, the county. And so I want to be open and receptive to what we can do together, because at the end of the day, we may bicker as to how we get there, but it is our responsibility as stewards of taxpayers' dollars. A segment of our community is homeless. And we have an obligation, if we want to grow economically, to be the type of place that folk will want to come, and we can have a hope place, and we can help provide or eradicate homelessness with our veterans. I think that the folk on the street that need a place, we have a responsibility, and we need to get the personalities out of this, because we have homes and beds that we go to every night. So it's bigger than us, but we have to be able to give and take. As far as for me, I'm open to continue the dialogue, keep the funds on the table. I'm willing to give and take for the greater good of this county and the citizens that we're expected to serve. Now, I believe that we have to make sure that location, we got to get out of this narrow and tunnel vision that it has to be one place. Is that the best thing? So we have to have flexibility. The number of beds. How can you determine today how many beds you will need? We're not there. We need beds, but how many is a sufficient number to start with and to deal with? So we need to come with a clean slate in our mind as to these preconceived things that the Marbert plan has taught us. Maybe the plan, if it has done nothing else, it has indicated and brought to the forefront there is a homeless population. And we have to address that. And that ought to be the greatest concern that we all have. And I think that we have to have a budget, and it has to be accountable, and you have to have pros and cons in that, and you have to have some flexibility in that. So even though my colleague to my left thinks that it could be just a Jim Chisholm, it's bigger than one person. It's all of us. It's enough to go around. And so I say, let's just go at it and try to solve this problem rather than point fingers as to who's responsible for getting us there. Thank you for being here. Thanks to those folk that are sitting here who have the same concerns that we all have, to try to do our best to make sure that we provide permanent housing for our citizens and a temporary shelter until we can get them into permanent facilities. That's the goal, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're trying to go, and help them be sustaining citizens in our community. That's the goal. And I'm willing to do what is necessary and with the dollars to do that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Lowry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't say that I disagree with anything I've heard up here. I agree with everything that I've heard, and I appreciate y'all's time. A lot of effort going into that. And I'm just glad there was nothing about cats on this today, so that cheered me up. But, I saw something this morning that I can be extremely proud of as a council person. And I saw hum and different organizations. I saw excitement. I saw participation. I saw leadership. I saw cooperation, involvement, great ideas, great leadership, and so forth. And that's what I'm looking for in regard to this. The same thing. I haven't seen it to this point. And I think that's what Council Lady Cusack was referring to this morning when she was speaking, that in this area we've not seen that. And I shared with the county manager this morning something he kind of liked. I was telling him, if you think you're a leader and you're turning around, nobody's following you, you're just out for a good walk. And in the Safe Harbor program, though there's some people really pushing that, I haven't seen anybody really rally behind that or really want to be excited about that or get involved with that, other organizations. And so I think we have to be careful in regard to that, and maybe that's why Daytona Beach hasn't really got on board with that either, really, as far as I can tell. Because maybe they don't think it's such a good plan, and so I'm glad we're looking at some other options here. Because our job isn't to decide if it's safe harbor or safe pier or safe ocean or anything. That's not our job. We've already made clear our position. We're willing to. We've already done $35 million, whatever it is, in the last 5 years. We certainly have already come to the table to present $4 million plus some property and so forth, and we're pretty much still there. You know, whether we're going to leave it on the table or however we're going to handle that, it's still there. And so when I get this letter asking if we want to do that, I'm thinking, well, hasn't anybody been watching the county TV? I mean, we've been on board with this for months now, and so forth. So we're there, but we're not going to run this. We're not going to operate it. We're not going to administrate it. But we'd like to help out as we can. And so I appreciate the work that you guys did on this, and I'm hoping it'll open minds and eyes to some other options, and that, as Council Lady Cusack said, that we don't get narrow on a place or a specific thing. And so, again, I just want to say I appreciate so much your all's time and your work on that. Thank you.
Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really want to thank you guys for doing what you have done. What you have done has elevated the conversation. We were at loggerheads with the city, and what you have done is you've moved it off into a direction where we're not confrontational, where we can get together and begin to work together. Me personally, I'm after what works. I am with Mr. Wagner that operating dollars to me are fine. I got no problem with that. I think that what we should do, though, is we should have some sort of limit on what our commitment is. That we don't want an open-ended commitment. We don't want to be running the shelter. We don't want our commitment to be open-ended. But as long as it's not open-ended, as long as we know what it is we're paying, then fine. You know, just keep it down to that level. Something that works, something that's cost-effective, and something that meets the needs of everyone. Now we have this, the Commission on Homeless, is it called? Are they going to be coming up with a business plan for all of this? I know that we've got Sam Willett on there. I don't know him personally, but I know him by reputation. He's got an excellent reputation. I know Jim Rose very well. Do they need any other expertise? Do they need any other people? Do they need any other people on there? Should we be looking at beefing up that organization? What do you think?
Could we let Sam answer that question?
That would be good.
He chairs the commission. If you don't mind, I can just stand here.
Actually, sir, we do. You have to come to the microphone. You have to be on the record. Sorry. Well, I mean, but you're, such a nice suit. You should be proud and show it off a little bit. I like the bow tie. And you have to identify yourself for the record and what you do.
Sam Willett, 412 Black Oak Lane. I'm with Bank of America. We would welcome all the human resources and human capital we can get. What our objective is with the commission is broaden the focus of the COC, which was really aimed more towards HUD dollars. We want to broaden that focus so that we can have a real strategic view of the community, the entire community, both in terms of what the need is and what the resources are. And one of the reasons why we brought some other people on is we have very valuable partners who are part of delivery systems, who are part of organizations, and we need their expertise, but we also need just concerned individuals in the community who want to roll their sleeves and participate. And we've already had some very talented people come on and want to participate in our strategic plan. We're starting a strategic plan right now in terms of getting the committee together, and we're going to be moving forward with that. And these gentlemen are volunteering to help me and others write that strategic plan too. And that's exactly what we want to do, is to set prioritization for the community that conforms to HUD, because that's where a lot of the dollars are. But also, we need a plan like this so that people can rally around it.
Well, one thing you're going to need is resources
Absolutely.
to help you make that work. I think it becomes a little suspect if the county gets involved directly or the cities get involved directly, and so we'll have to be a little bit careful about that, but I'm sure anything that the county could do to help you push things forward, we would certainly be happy to do, or if we could do something informally, that would be great.
Well, we certainly want to be in communication with the county so that you are aware of what we're doing, and we want really that kind of participation, not only from the county, but from the cities. We want broad participation in this.
Well, you know, it looks like you have gotten it, and I'd like to thank Mr. Deneen and Ms. Cusack for joining the homeless strategy work group. That having you two there, I think, is something extremely important. It shows a commitment by the county to make this thing work, and to be at the table and be able to learn what's going on is absolutely critical to any sort of decision that we make, or any sort of recommendation that the staff comes out with. Again, you know, what I'm interested in is something that works. I'd like to see a comprehensive plan. I know that a shelter will be part of it, where it's located, and you know, what is necessary to make that work, I think we need to nail down. Now, let's talk about time frames. This has been kicked around for a long time, and we need to really get this done, arrive at something within some reasonable amount of time. We can't be, commissioning a study and hearing back from it, 6 months or 8 months from now. It's got to be, when do you think?
As you can see, if you look at item number 6, we'd like to have these recommendations, by the 15th of May. And part of that is, the city of Daytona Beach is going to have to make a decision mid-April regarding what they do regarding their emergency situation with additional shelter beds. And so the city obviously is going to have to be looking at that sometime within the next 30 days or so to determine whether or not they're going to extend that emergency situation. And I know in their workshop yesterday, that was one of the issues that they discussed. But I agree with you. This needs to move forward rapidly. I hope that you would say that that kind of time frame is rapid enough.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it would. It's a workable time frame. And again, everyone, we all need to start getting along. We need to get along with the city of Daytona Beach, and, calm everything down. We need to get along with the citizen groups that have been pushing this all along. Because if you're not going to get business people to get involved in something where there's all this controversy going on. If there's a big argument between the city and the county, or a big argument between the county and some social service group, they're going to say life's too short. They're not going to do it. What they want to do is get involved in something that the community's behind, and the community has an open mind and just wants to make it work. I think they would get involved in that, and you would see the same sort of result we saw with Hope Place this morning. To the faith group, what I'd like to say is that this is what victory looks like. You people have been working at this for a very long period of time. And what you've got is you've got everybody's attention. You got this moving down the road. Be happy. This is what victory looks like. Victory quite often doesn't look like you getting exactly what you want when you want it. It looks like solving the problem, and that's what we want to do, is solve the problem. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, my turn. Once again, thank you guys for coming up, gentlemen. It was a little different than what you did at the round table. I'm looking up here, and you made me a comment about you need to do another study on beds. Now, more data. That's all we hear a lot of. Don't we have the data available? I mean, Marbert did this thing, and he said you need 250 beds, right? Roughly. Isn't that data good enough? Or do you think maybe we should add some beds, maybe 300 beds? just throwing a number out there. I mean, I know it's kind of, this is all off the top, and I wouldn't expect you to have an answer right now. I'm just throwing just hypothetical questions out. Also, you said you need more time to do all this. I'm looking at your time frame, and yes, we're looking at July 1st of this year before this whole program is going here. It's on the bottom there. But it looks like it's just another bureaucracy to me. I mean, it's a commission on homelessness. It's another bureaucracy, another level of government. I'll go with it. I'll let it. I mean, I'm not happy with another level of government. We've got 3 governments involved in this. We got Daytona. We got us. We've got, the round table, another bureaucracy. Got the homeless discussion within the subcommittee of the homeless committee for the elected round table. I mean, we got a lot of people involved. And there seems to be a lot of talking, and we're still here talking. And I mean, I like to see things happen. I mean, I really, really do. I like this morning, Hope Place. It took us, about 3 months from the time that we all sat down individually with the group over there at Hope Place to where we're at today, signing the deal and getting it done. I'd like to see that happen here. I'd like to have seen this happen 90 days ago. Let's see. I too, I'm in for the capital. I'm in for the capital funding, but like most of the council have said, once the capital funding on this center, this homeless shelter, shall we say, is done, you own it. We don't own it. And which brings to mind one more question that I got that nobody seems to answer. Who's going to run it? Who is going to sit there in this building and as the people come in the door, feed them? Who is going to sit there in this building and if there's an issue in that building, going to go over and break up the problem? Who is going to get these people directed to the social services they need, and who's going to provide those social services? There's a lot, a lot of who. I mean, I sound like an owl, but it's true. Who's going to do all this stuff? You 3 guys, I mean, I know you all are pillars of the Khmer and Ray. You and I have worked together on quite a few projects. I've known you for many, many years through the VFW. But you 3 guys, you're great guys, but you're not Superman, and you cannot be everywhere at one time. And matter of fact, all 3 of you said, we're retired. We don't want to do this, really. We'll find to help you out, but we don't want to do it. A faith organization, please. These guys, they tell us this is what we want to do, we want to do. Hey, that's great, that's wonderful. Let's come on up here and start talking to these 3 guys and let's get it done. Salvation Army, you guys know what you've been doing for 125 years. I commend them. I have been for months because we are virtually 0 homeless veterans. Never happened before, which is great for me because I'm part of an organization, and every winter we do a veteran stand down. We go find them out in the woods. I don't have to do that this year. I can actually go home to my family and have Christmas instead of serving these guys their Christmas dinner and making sure they got a bed and a warm place to sleep for the Christmas. So, I mean, the possibility is there. Now, I don't know, and I apologize for being late on the discussion. I am on the canvassing board, and we were doing the election balloting and all that stuff. But as I sit down, I get this letter from Daytona Beach handed to me where they're committed to providing $400,000 toward the operational cost of an intake facility for 5 years, and they're going to operate this thing and everything. This is basically what we've asked for. What we said, this is what we want to do. Here it is in black and white, signed by Mr. Chisholm. Is Volusia, the question on the bottom, is Volusia County willing to provide $4 million in capital and land for the construction of a county-wide facility in Daytona Beach? Isn't this what we've asked for? And I'm getting a no over here. Mr. Eckert, explain why this is not what we've asked for. Got to have the mic on.
This is a
I mean, it's dated today.
I understand that, but all they're doing is committing to $400,000 of operations for 5 years, not to own it, not to operate it, not to provide it after that period of time. It's
The city will operate a homeless facility within the facility resources available to the city to provide individual client services. They said they're going to operate it right there.
Let me be clear. A letter from the manager without a contract associated with it is
Mhm.
meaningless.
Okay.
Because every time they've told us before, then they send the document over, and the document doesn't say that at all.
The contract that was provided to you, their markup of a contract, which apparently was not approved by the commission, said that they would operate it, but only for 5 years.
So we need a longer commitment.
And this is by letter, and I understand you're trying to move the discussion to a different approach where you would address the problem by determining the needs, and I think personally I think that's appropriate, but regarding the contract, this is essentially the same city's position restated in letter form. That's a rejection of the offer that you made.
All right.
The other thing is, first of all, which I find interesting in here, is that it says that they would only provide the services to the population of the city. First of all, this would have to be countywide. The other thing is, I thought they said that the people that they were dealing with weren't from the city.
Yeah, true.
So I find that interesting. But the other thing is that I think this is what's gotten in, once again, this is getting in the way of the discussion. I thought you had all this discussion to figure out where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm absolutely convinced that this discussion keeps killing this focus on something that doesn't have a champion or the community excited. Keeps stopping. I think Joyce has told them this a couple of times. They need to get beyond, you've said this to me, any sheltered needs should be at the end of the process after you've looked at all these other ways we provide services and figure out how you're going to coordinate all this. And as Doug said, find something that works. This is putting the cart before the horse again. And I don't see anything different here than the rejected offer we had.
Okay. Well, then that's just the letter we got today. So anyways,
But Mr. Chair,
I'm going to move on with.
It does include that, they will include other participating government
Yes.
agencies.
And they will bring that in. Anyways, I think we're at a point of, well, we're going to have to wait and find out. I mean, we've made the offers, we've tried, we put services out there. We work with United Way, we work with all these other social services to try to make homelessness go away, which we're never going to do. There'll always be somebody out there, but we're working to try to reduce it. I commend you guys for what you've done, and I guess we'll just have to keep working with it. Mr. Wagner?
Yes, and even though it's not a response to the contract, the last contract I had a hard time with because it said may be a shelter. I do appreciate the city manager, Jim Chisholm, to at least agreeing to some stuff. I think it's a good step. I really do. So I don't want to continue to get my emotions involved rather than him taking a step with his city commission, who I believe his city commission do want to support even a little further than this letter may go. I guess the question comes down for this council and in this process, we're still going to need to make some sort of commitment to not Daytona Beach in a sense, because our commitment should be third party. Does that make sense? I mean, it's more of, if we continue to have this back and forth.
Always has been, though, Josh. It always has been.
No, I mean third party in the sense of whatever this group may be. It's not a commitment to Daytona Beach. It's a commitment to the community. And I think if we look at it that way, we're back to a Hope Place type model. And I think the city of Daytona Beach, and I think their commissioners will respect that as well, as this is really thinking as a third party entity that we're making commitments to, rather than telling the city, yes, will the city agree? And, when the city asked the question, is the county willing to provide $4 million? We've said that all along. That's, go ahead, Randy.
Oh, excuse me. We do have some more specific ideas that we don't feel it's prudent to put on the public agenda today because we need to determine the extent of support that we have as the people with Hope Place did. It's not negotiating in public, but perhaps discussing it privately and getting more feedback. But I will suggest that one idea was for the Commission on Homelessness to be a recipient of some of the public investment that we're going to make in homelessness, and that using that body rather than specific governments to determine the greatest and highest need of our entire community. And they can advise you, certainly, then as to the most appropriate prioritization of the funds that the county may agree to engage. So that decision hasn't been made. The Commission on Homelessness hasn't said that's going to be their primary role or a functional role, but our input on a strategic plan would likely include that. Thus, it gets away from are you funding the city's plan or are you funding some other plan? If the Homeless Commission is the agent and they're independent of the political process, they're going to make the recommendations in the best interest of the people who need the services, would be the goal.
So, but at the end of the day, to get that facilitated and started, you're still asking a commitment from us on finances on what we would consider. I mean, number one, that's what it says, is maintain.
I think our intent was for if there was going to be a decision that the deadline had passed and there's no funds that are going to be made available effective March 4th, we were hoping to forestall that and just allow the discussion to get more specific. And to Chairman Davis's point, yes, there's some urgency to this, but we need to do it smart, not quick.
Yeah, but the concern, you have to realize this, and there were three votes that said they would support operating costs of up to $400,000 a year for 5 years. And Doug Daniels, Councilmember Daniels, was not one of those four. So you even have the fourth vote just said, as long as the other didn't change, he would be willing to.
As long as I know what the plan is,
As long as you know,
I've got confidence in it, I'm there.
So would it be best for you to, I have no problem agreeing, as a single council member to, I don't want to look at it as continuing our, how did you word it, the current financial commitment. That has sailed as far as that part's closed. But as far as recommitting to you, and as you progress, I have no problem doing that. But I want the city to do the same. It shouldn't be a letter to us. It needs to be directed to you. So is the best way, do we do another memo and say, here is the mindset of the county council of, line item by line item? Because I know council members Denny's does not want to commit to operating, but they still have to have something.
We've still got a lot of money on the table, and it looks like the homeless commission might perform the role of mediator and all. I think we need one.
We do,
because we can both talk to them, and they can sort it out and come back and say, well, this works or that doesn't work. That kind of thing. And I know Sam, I really, really think you're going to rue the day you volunteered for this, but there'll be a medal in it for you by the time we get done. Okay.
So as they leave, I guess the question becomes, as they leave, they have an item on number one that make financial commitments. What does that mean? Is it a memo? Is it us just saying, you've heard the comments from us that there are a majority of council members who said they are committed to it. There are, depending what Pat Patterson says, you may have a commitment that operating costs may be part of it. Do you need more than that? Or is that verbal conversation, which I would rather have? Are you guys okay with that?
Josh, we need to have more information. We have to
I agree. I'm not
before
saying.
There's any commitment, we need more information. I don't think this council, I think what you're hearing from all of us is that we're committed, we're not stepping away from it. That's, I think that's a clear.
And
me-
I'm
that's a
comfortable with
clear-
that as well.
That's a clear message. I think for today, if you want to set this up for success, don't push it.
I agree.
Then
But we-
let's leave capital on the table until we see more of a plan, at least for me. To do anything else, if you want complete buy-in, I would rather have complete buy-in that we can all rally towards and not try to push it too soon, very genuinely. That's
I
just my
agree,
two
but it
cents.
needs to, when it comes back, just like
When
Doug
it- when
Daniel
it-
said, when the specifics come back, there's enough support on here to do other things, from what I'm hearing. So make sure we have the information, it's not thrown in our face and put as a demand. That's all I ask.
Yeah.
You know.
And when it comes back, it won't come back as a budget workshop. It'll come back as an agenda item to where we can actually vote. We cannot vote on this item today. There's no vote, pro, con, nothing today on that. So you still have the floor, Mr. Wagner, or are you complete?
Well, I guess I'm complete, and I guess the answer to the letter of Jim Chisholm is that we're telling this third-party group to answer his question, is Volusia County willing to provide $4 million in capital land for construction of a countywide facility in Daytona Beach? The answer is, it sounds like a yes. It's just, you would be the third party to decide the specifics, right? I mean, am I wrong when I say that? Because that is the
Well,
$4
when you
million.
say third party, I would rather have a third party involved in this whole thing.
Right.
From Jump Street to let them run the whole thing.
I just don't want the city of Daytona Beach again to say we're not responding. I'm trying to think Hope Place.
Josh,
So
this didn't come from the
Sometimes,
electeds,
Josh, you
this
can
came from
kind
the
of talk
manager.
yourself out of what you're trying,
Yeah,
where you're trying to go.
You're
So just,
I would
I
let,
think
I'd
comes
let
a
this
time to
thing
just
just
let it
sit.
go.
That's from the manager. We sent a contract. They sent us back an encyclopedia.
how do you
and-
respond? How do you respond to a
Don't.
letter?
It's
Can
just
I,
a-
You
can I,
don't respond to a letter?
can I jump in? I think,
Hey, Mr.
here's
Dean.
what I think I heard, and if, I think I need to be able to articulate this. What I thought I heard in individual talks with council members and here today was that the big change for us was we decoupled our commitment from a specific project. Josh, do you, I said what I thought I heard today was that all we really did in Joyce was we decoupled our commitment from a specific project. Our commitment could still be there, but now we're open to other ideas and other solutions. Because the way it was said before was we thought Daytona was going to champion it, and we tied our thing to a piece of land and a specific commitment to a specific project. I think you've decoupled it now with the idea that if they see a new alternative, a new program, it could be something different, a different type of shelter, we'll consider it. And what I thought I heard was, and I do think that I'd like to get a clarification from Mr. Wagner, and that is, when Mr. Wagner talked to me about his change in position, you had $4 million on the table for capital. What Mr. Wagner talked to me about was some type of operating jumpstart, which would have been part of that. But here was the thing, and you need to speak for yourself on this, it would reduce the capital. So he was going to look at $3 million plus the $1 million to jumpstart it. But the one thing I think I need to know as manager, never in my discussions with Mr. Wagner did he ever give me the impression that we would actually have ownership or run something. He was talking about giving operating costs out of that $4 million. That to me is an enormous difference between where I thought we were going before. So I think if you've decoupled it from that project, we're still solid about not owning it or running it. And then I think what they're saying is we're open to new ideas. Show us what the new ideas are. I think that what you got today was more flexibility from the council. They didn't step away from the commitment. They just gave you more flexibility. If that's the understanding, then I think I can communicate, because I think I need to if it's not in writing. I think I need to be able to communicate for the council. That's what I thought I heard. I think I'm seeing yeses from everybody along the dais. So that's what I'll keep in mind.
Is that it, Mr. Wagner? You good?
Is that what you need?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Pastor, Mr. Patterson, bring us home.
Yeah, I've just been listening here to sorting all of it and saying, okay, maybe I can find something that I can latch on to. When we're talking about it getting political, it got political over there in Daytona Beach last night when I read this morning's paper where the mayor said, well, this is going to be political because, you know, we'll see at the next elections, and maybe this council will change. So that was irritated me quite a bit, you know, mainly because I'll be here, you know, coming here, you know. I don't know about the rest of you that are standing for election, but me, I'll be around, and I'm not changing where I am. I want to see a program that is not a forever program, and when I mean forever, for the people that are in it. That's what makes Hope Place look so good to me, is we are trying to get people out on their feet and moving in, you know, whether they're responsible, you know. You don't become, a facility doesn't really change people. It's the people addressing that they have a problem and they want to solve the problem, and we can help them. Until they come in and say, I got a problem, I'm alcohol or drug or, well, my years at ACT told me that mental illness is a whole different ballgame, and duly diagnosed. You remember the battles with Stuart Marchman over that years ago, Randy. Yeah. So I'm glad everything is together, and that really, when ACT and Stuart Marchman came together. I wasn't on the board with ACT at the time when that happened, but I was really pleased that came about. When I'm thinking of $4 million, I have always heard up to $4 million. That something. Now, if we said we're going to do this today, and we had somebody standing here, that's the one thing that's bothering me, is if this thing was really viewed by a lot of people as viable and was really going to work, this place would be full of agencies wanting to take the lead on it and run the program. I haven't seen anybody come forward and say, I want to run this program. I have the people, just like with Hope Place. We know that Halifax Servant Ministry is going to go forward with it. And it leads me to believe that maybe they just don't think this thing is going to work, that you're just going to have a flop house for people to come in and go, we're going to wash their clothes, we're going to take care of them, we're just going to have a bunch of adult teenagers that we're stuck with forever. And I want to see a program that is going to create some change in people that are willing to make some differences. $4 million, I want to see a plan, and the problem we have is it's a long way off. That's why I always thought, well, maybe the old evac center that we had over there, retrofitted, would be a perfect location to do a facility. We could get in there and just get it going a lot faster than trying to build something. That's, you know, when you look at Hearst, we've got some construction to do in there, but it'll come about. I really don't see the need for building a freestanding building out in the middle of a swamp, as some of my council members have said. But I'd like to see that. That's what I want to see. I want a program, and I did go with Josh the up to 300,000 or whatever it was. But I want to see that coming from money that we have out there. I don't want to see us having to come up with $400,000 a year, and we're still doing all these other programs. I want to see, you know, effectively take the money that the county is putting out, and we could put it into this program without crippling other programs. But I know what happens when you take one from another. Just like the years I was in the legislature, and Joyce knows this, suddenly you start hearing some screaming when somebody's money is going to someplace else. So that's where I am. Really listening to all of it today, I just don't want to write a blank check for $4 million. I want to see something that's working, and I want to see a little better behavior out of the other side of the county over there. Sorry.
That's quite all right.
And thank you for what you do. I've known you guys for a long, long time. Randy and I go back many, many years to my days as president of ACT Board and chairman of the Personnel and Finance Committee. We had a lot of bad days and a lot of good days, but it worked out. And we built quite a few buildings, and we helped quite a few people during that period of time. Same way with Stuart Marchman, you know, just.
Okay, is that it? You're done?
Just as it was a very positive step in the right direction. We're starting to seem like Home Place. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Go forth and prosper.
Yeah. Thank you, Spock. All right, we're going to move on to item number 28, appointments to the contractor licensing appeal. And
Jason will be back in 7 minutes.
you know, where's my? Oh, there it is. There she is. All righty. Yeah, we have appointments. I don't even
Move for a
want to-
10-minute recess.
Okay, there's been a request for a 10-minute recess. Any objection? With no objection, we will be in recess for 10 minutes. Chambers, could please come to order? No cats. Yeah, we're not talking about cats today. All right, we're going to move on to item number 28, which is the appointments to the Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
We're minus a couple of people, and it does require everybody to start making appointments.
Yes, it does.
So do you want to move over?
I mean, they were right here. Well, I mean, that's everything we got.
No, there's a couple more pages, maybe do the other appointments until they come back in the room.
Okay. Each district council member shall make one appointment. Yeah, we got item 28, 29.
I was concerned with item
District
28.
1. Where's District 1? He's right next to me. Okay, well, how about this? Until everybody comes back in the room, we'll hop forward to item 29, which is that's an appointment for Ms. Kuzak, West Side, for the appointment to the Historic Preservation Board. No, I got to have everybody here, so we're going to jump over 28. We'll do 29. We'll do 30 until everybody comes back in the room. I need Mr. Wagner for that. But Ms. Kuzak, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to appoint Mr. Oscar Brock.
Okay, appointment for Mr. Oscar Brock to the Historic
Preservation
for the
Board.
Historic Preservation. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, 6-0, pass. All right, we will jump down to item 30. District 1, Mr. Patterson, nomination for the Halifax Area Advertising Authority.
Yes, I talked to Mr. Betros, and I would like to nominate him to the position, John J. Betros.
John J. Betros to the Halifax Area Advertising Authority, nominated by District 1. All those in favor, please signify by aye. All those opposed. So carried, 6-0. Okay. Tourist Development Council. Any council member, please turn on your light if you would like to make a motion. Mr. Patterson.
Into the elected official, Kelly White.
Oh, Kelly White. Okay, Kelly White, nominated by Mr. Patterson. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. So carried 6-0. And
one more.
I need one more. I will up Ms. Denny's.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Costa Magoulas.
Costa Magoulas is nominated by Ms. Denny's. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. So carried 6-0. Item 3, District 1, Southeast Volusia Advertising Authority.
Mr. Chairman, I have wanted somebody that was in the lodging business, and I did talk to Mr. Clapsaddle. I know that he had served and then resigned from the advertising authority. We had a long conversation, and he honestly wants to go back on and serve and do a good job. So I'd like to nominate Tom Clapsaddle.
Okay, Tom Clapsaddle is nomination for the Southeast Volusia Advertising Authority by District 1. All those in favor, please signify aye. All those opposed. So carried. All right. We're going to go back now to item 28. Seems I'm just going to go straight down the list here. Mr. Patterson, item 28. I cannot wait for Mr. Wagner anymore. Where is he? We'll come back to Mr. Wagner. All right, Mr. Patterson. Item 28. This is the Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board.
Yes, John Minelt. I nominate him.
John Minelt. John Minelt, nominated by Mr. Patterson for the Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. So carried 6-0. Come back to Mr. Wagner. Ms. Kuzak. You and I have 4 of these.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Ronald Reeves, the residential contractor.
Okay. Mr. Ronald G. Reeves, nominated by Ms. Kuzak for the Licensing Construction Appeals Board. All those in favor, please signify by aye. All those opposed. So carried. Mr. Daniels. I need you on the record, sir.
Excuse me, I'd like to ask for a continuance.
I have a motion for a continuance and a second by Ms. Denny's. All those in favor of continuance for Mr. Daniels, please signify by aye. All those opposed? Continuance granted. Okay. Ms. Denny's.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to nominate J. Michael Cole.
J. Michael Cole. Okay, J. Okay, J. Michael. Is that J. Michael or Mitchell?
It's Mitchell. It's
Mitch,
been
but it's
corrected.
J.
I'm
Michael.
sorry.
Okay. J. Mitchell Cole, nominated by Ms. Denny's for the Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board. All those in favor, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried. 6-0. Mr. Lowry? I have a motion for continuance for Mr. Lowry. Do I hear a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Denny's. All those in favor of a continuance for Mr. Lowry, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried. Myself. Thurman, oh, I cannot do it. Mr. Patterson, you have the gavel. There you go. I need to be recognized, please, sir.
Is this for the contractor licensing?
It certainly is, sir.
Mr. Chair, you're recognized for an appointment to the Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board.
Thurman Reynolds.
A nomination of Thurman Reynolds, roofing contractor. Is there any objection to the motion? Without objection, show the motion. Passes unanimously.
Ms., you want to hold on to the gavel and just run back to Ms. Kuzak? Because it's going to be her and I for a couple more turns.
Ms. Councilwoman Cusack, do you have a nomination?
I would like to have a continuance. I need to talk to some of these folks.
We have a motion for continuance.
I shall second.
There's a second. Is there any debate? Any objections to the motion? Motion passes unanimously. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and I also would ask for a continuance.
I have a motion for continuance. Is there a second? We have a second for continuance on the motion.
Who
there any-
seconded that? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the motion? Without objection, show the motion passes unanimously.
Can I have my hammer back?
No.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Wagner is not present at this time. I don't know where he went to. So we will move on. And we are now at, is there any public participation for the evening, ma'am?
Before we do that, can we have a continuance of all the other appointments that haven't been made? You have numerous ones there.
Okay, so we will need to have a continuance for all the rest of them. Okay. I have to entertain a motion for a
So
continuance.
moved.
So moved by Ms. Denny's. I do need a second. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lowry. All those in favor of a continuance for the remainder of the applicants, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? So carried 6-0. Thank you, ma'am. We have no public participation?
No, sir.
Very well. We will now go to closing comments.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
while you're still on appointments, and before you go to,
Wasn't, but
if you would, if the council would reaffirm its appointment of Mr. Patterson as the alternate member of the canvassing board.
yeah, I was going to
think it
do
would-
that during my discussion, but, okay. Yes, it has come to my attention that we need to reconfirm Mr. Patterson as the alternate for the canvassing board. And I have a so moved by Ms. Kuzak. Do I hear a second? And I got a second from Mr. Lowry this time. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by aye. All those opposed? So carried. And while we are here at this appointment issue, at the end of the year, I will not be able to sit on the canvassing board. So Mr. Patterson will take my position, but Miss Ann McFall will not be able to sit on the canvassing board either because she's waiting for an answer from the governor, and if Miss Lisa Lewis gets appointed as the temporary interim, she will not be able to sit on the canvassing board. So we will need an additional canvassing board member that I get to appoint, and I'm asking for a volunteer. And, okay, slow down, everybody, don't jump up and down. For the primary and the general, August and November.
I can't. It has to be Joyce.
Yeah, you can't do it, I can't do it, Doug cannot do it.
Joyce.
And Joyce will do it, thank you, ma'am. Although I do need a second.
Second.
Okay, I have a second for Ms. Denny's. Did you hear the train coming? That sounded like a railroad to me. You got it. All those in favor, please signify by aye. All those opposed. Thank you, Ms. Cusack. Greatly appreciate it. Mr. Wagner, before we get out of the appointments, item 28 was the Contractor Licensing and Construction Appeals Board. Did you have a nomination on that board?
I'm going to request a continuance.
Yeah, okay, motion for a continuance. Do I hear a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Cusack. All those in favor? Continuance for Mr. Wagner, please signify by aye. All those opposed? And that passed 7-0. All right. Is there any further business that needs to come to this council before we go to comments? No further business coming to the council. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Patterson, do you have any closing comments?
I do. I have two items I want to go over. One, I attended the Central Florida Commuter Rail Commission yesterday, and took the Sunrail down and took it back. There was just a lot of items on there from different agencies and things that were going on, so that was pretty much standard. But there was an item I received from them on Monday for their meeting on Wednesday, a resolution of the Central Florida Community Rail Commission supporting discussions with local government funding partners and regional transportation entities to identify and develop strategies to ensure the continued success, operation, and maintenance of Sunrail and providing an effective date. I was troubled by getting this thing at the last minute, and really feeling that it probably would not be appropriate for me to support this resolution until I talked to the council. There's a lot going on there. They do have a task force that's going forward. There's interest. Part of it in there involves Section 1. The Central Florida Community Rail Commission hereby pledges the support of and commitment to discussions with local government funding partners and regional transportation entities, including FDOT, the Central Florida Regional Transportation Authority, DBA Links, Volusia County Public Transit, and the Central Florida Expressway Authority. It's over who's going to run this operation. The commission will be in place, but it will be some entity other than FDOT running the Sunrail. So there is a task force that's been created, but the resolution was not passed yesterday because of my objection, because it does have to be unanimous.
So is this the Links, where Links Corporation is going to do it?
Links is kind of positioning itself to be operating the thing. And there are some concerns throughout the Sunrail area of that. They run a bus, you know, they're like Votran. There's concerns that maybe they might not know what to do. So I just wanted to bring you up to date on what happened and go from there, okay? That's that little report.
Mr. Patterson, are you saying that, are you going to support that next time, or how?
I'm looking for some more clarification on that resolution. Mayor Dwyer kind of made it sound like, oh, this is just kind of a standard operating procedure that, you know, having this discussion, this task force. So right now, I'm just going to wait and see what the task force is doing and where it's going to go. I showed the resolution to Mr. Eckert, and he and I had talked about it a little bit. You have anything you want to add, Dan?
Does it have an impact on locally?
Who knows at this point?
Well, I think it's probably deserving of a more explication to the council than I think you or I are capable of giving, but I think that the assumption from my having participated in the contract negotiations was that the commission would hire a private firm to operate the system. There are firms which do this, and I'm a little puzzled at the idea of putting links which were not part of the structure in between the commission and the operator. I don't know that Lynx is capable. They have no demonstrated capacity, at least, of operating a rail system, and I think they would end up contracting with someone else. So I don't understand the necessity for the intermediary, and maybe I don't understand the concept if Lynx would be the contract administrator. Well, that's one thing, but beyond that, it's not clear to me what role that they are to have. The commission is supposed to negotiate contracts with the public transportation bodies, which Lynx is a part of. So I'm just not clear what the vision is, and it seems contrary to what was envisioned before, and you know, well, with all due respect, Votran is as capable of doing that as Lynx, and Votran, we contract with a company that operates a rail system. So I'm not advocating that company, but there are companies like that that it seems to me that you would explore that concept.
If I can add one other thing.
Yeah.
To me, I think then this would be a change in the contract, right? So it has to be unanimous. So.
Well, I'm not clear of the vision, to be honest with you. The resolution it doesn't seem to substitute the governance, but it puts a links in between the commission and the third party operator. I don't understand the necessity for that at this point.
Well, I can understand having a task force to looking at it, but it is 5 years away. And
the other thing is, I'm a little leery about how they vote on anything without going back to their respective governments. That to me is, I mean, you can bring forward stuff, but they have to be all explained here, and you'd have to have the vote of the council. That's, unless they're doing it themselves without that kind of authority.
well, and it'll be 3 more months before their next meeting, so it's not like I have a meeting in 2 weeks or a month. I want to dig into this quite a bit more just to see what's going on before, and bring it back to the council in case this thing comes back up again. I just wanted to let you know what was happening. I feel that's my responsibility if I'm going to be going down there. So.
I mean, if I could just add this much more, I think that FDOT contracts with a private company to essentially oversee this function now. So you know, maybe the vision is that they would that they would wrap FDOT's role and the role of the consulting company to this, but it's just not clear, and I don't think we ought to acquiesce by silence.
Yeah.
We being you, into a structure in which you have no part in the governance.
Well, it was interesting. I made it known in advance that I couldn't support that resolution, and it was relayed back to me that they were not going to take action on it, and yet suddenly a motion was made and seconded, and they were getting ready to go forward. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. It surprised me because they told me that we weren't going to take action on a resolution, and I just said, I can't support this. I'm not going to go back to the Volusia County Council and say, guess what I did yesterday, and, you know, whoop-de-doo, no big deal. I think it is a big deal, and so.
And, you know, to Mr. Deneen's point, because of the lack of clarity as to what, to me, I mean, I'm not saying this may be, I may be in a state of permanent confusion, but I'm at least in a state of temporary confusion about this, that depending upon the role that Lynx is to play, it could be a contract amendment.
One little thing to note too, I find this really interesting, is that Dan's office fought very hard, Tara especially, doing this, because you know they did want all these votes at one time to be by majority. So we would have never even got asked. That was a big fight. Looks like a good fight, because now they can't do anything unless it's unanimous.
Yeah. So, the other thing, we did find out that there was a Tiger 3 application, and we ranked real high and got into this to the federal office, but I don't know if it's going any further than that. But they're still working on the Tiger grant, so that's something for the northbound thing. So that's what's happening. Moving on, I have been in several conversations with Senator Latvala over the DJJ issue, and I'm going to do my best to kind of go over what's happening. And what it would entail is us to reconsider the motion we made at the last council meeting, reconsider that one, and take a new motion that we have. We are the only county holding out right now. Every county, according to Robert Stewart and Jack Latvala and them, we're the only ones that have not agreed to a settlement by what the current legislation. I did just get a text message from Senator Latvala that the bill is okay in the House and moving in the House. So if y'all are inclined, we could make a motion to reconsider. What it involves is the deal is in exchange for dropping all past and all current claims and making the payments due for the current year related to the DJJ cost share. The department will, 1, agree to a clean slate beginning July 1st, 2016 on past issues and start the 50-50 split on that date. Number 2, not seek final reconciliation of the 2013-14 year. Number 3, not seek payment for any and all monies withheld by the county during 2014 and 15, and begin an even split of actual costs on July 1st, 2016. That would be a 50-50. I will say that even if we do agree, and I've got a motion here to make if we reconsider the previous motion, even if we agree, the legislation will likely be heard on the Senate floor next week, where an amendment will be offered to state clear legislative intent as to the previous overbilling by the department, and that the department will not seek repayment from previous unpaid amounts in years. And I think Dan and I have talked a little bit about that he doesn't, the possibility of making sure that the Secretary of DJJ has the authority to do that. But even if the legislation is adopted by the Senate, it's still not a sure thing to pass and become law. So if it doesn't become, if we agree to drop the lawsuit and what's in my motion that I have here, if it doesn't pass, then we're just back to where we are right now. So that's kind of what's happening. So, Dan, you want to add anything?
Well, if the council's inclined to do this, you would either want what Mr. Patterson said clearly stated within the legislation. If it's outside the legislation that the department is not going to reconcile 2013-14, which they've not sought to do at this point, and not assert any money due from that time, and from 2014-15, I think at that point you would want not only a mutual release with the Department of Justice, but Department of Juvenile Justice, but I think you would want the CFO to be executing the release also, since at least my understanding of state law is that the CFO has authority to settle claims on behalf of the state, where the state thinks it's owed money. And it's unclear that the Department of Juvenile Justice has the authority to do that. At least I don't think they think they do, but this may be belt and suspenders, but that's the course that I would recommend, but depending upon, if it's in the bill, then you would have greater comfort.
So what I would say at this point,
The question of Mr.
well, I'm going to make a motion right now, because if this motion fails, then there's no sense in going on any further. The motion is to rescind the previous position on DJJ election, to reconsider the motion that we made to previous position on DJJ legislation, and restate position that following the passage signature by the governor, the county will dismiss its lawsuit in consideration of having a clean slate for the county 08, 09, and fiscal year 12 and 13, and the state would have to refund all amounts paid or taken and not seek payment. Counties will be handled the same way, and all counties would have to dismiss their litigation as well. But that's the motion we passed at the last council meeting. So my motion is to reconsider that motion.
Does that include the clean slate provision in there?
Oh, wait, before we have discussion, I do need a second.
I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lowry. All right, Ms. Dennis, you have the floor.
Just for clarification, does that include the clean slate provision?
This is what we had in the motion we passed 2 weeks ago.
Forget,
clean slate.
forget 2 weeks ago.
Well, no, I've got to, see, and
Parliamentary.
I'm going to come up with the other motion that we will do.
Okay,
This is the motion that we made 2 weeks ago.
Right.
That we reconsidered the previous motion, we took up this motion, and I want to reconsider this motion and make a new motion, okay?
Okay, I question though with all this, with the new motion, where we're going, do we have a dollar value?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. That's what I
Well,
What's the
I want
bottom
to
line?
know.
Stop talking adjectives, I want money.
The motion I understand Mr. Patterson intends to make, if the prior motion is reconsidered, would involve essentially that the Department of Juvenile Justice would not reconcile 13-14 and would not assert any amount due from that. They've never asserted anything thus far, and that they would not seek to collect the remainder of 14-15, which is, I think I used an incorrect figure with some of the council members. It's $1.787 million, and a few dollars besides that. It's $1,718,600. $7,787,013.42, so it's a little short of $1,000,008. That's essentially the clean slate provision as advocated by Okaloosa and Manatee. It does not include, and as Mr. Patterson stated in his remarks, we would be expected to pay the balance of 15-16, which is in round numbers. Ms. Peister is here. The billing of that was 2.5. We've not been paying. The state has taken about $1.3 million of revenue sharing. It's a little short of $1.3 million. It's very close to it, though. And we would be expected to pay the balance, which is approximately $1.2 million. So essentially, there's an unknown amount for 13-14, and you would retain $1.787 million for 14-15. What you would be giving up is a credit or refund for 08-09 through 12-13. That's based upon the Broward County case. That's $9.2 million, or it could be 12.3 if in our case the court enforces the stipulations for the middle three of those 5 fiscal years. And that's the proposal. So I don't know if have I answered your question?
Well, from what you're telling me, it's the sum game to us is about 600,000 with 13-14 unknown. I mean, because it's basically 1.8, but we're going to have to pay about 1.2, so it's about 600,000. But 13-14 is a dollar amount unknown, so it's 600,000 plus or minus 1.5 to 2, probably. Ballpark. I don't need exact numbers. I'm just talking. It would be about 1.5 to 2.
You would retain about $600,000 cash. That's
Correct.
true. That's true.
So.
And in 13-14, this department never has asserted anything. I think, don't get me wrong, I think it's important to have that issue laid to rest, but they never have asserted anything, and I think they would have some significant obstacles to try to collect for that. But if you're trying to resolve it, you need to make sure that 13-14 is not an issue left behind.
Well, speaking of left behind, right now the split's 57-43 with the state.
That is correct.
Well,
Right there.
that is what the state has been funding it at. That's part of the controversy of the rule challenge that we have. But that's what the state is funding it the last 2 fiscal years.
So if we agree to this, then they're saying they'll come down to 50-50.
50-50 and on a monthly basis.
The concept of the bill is to do away with the distinction between pre and post final disposition, and to have a pool of secure detention days, and to allocate to the counties as a whole, the non-fiscally constrained counties, the 50% of the cost, and the counties share within that 50% would be based upon the prior year's usage, billed in arrears. There's a year in between where the state's fixing the amount, so that after that you would bill in arrears. This is what I understand the concept, and so it would do away with the estimate and reconciliation process. So as a whole, the non-fiscally constrained counties, with the exception of those counties which operate their own detention facilities, would be paying 50% of the cost. That's what people mean when they say 50-50.
So let me go back to where I started, because without, if we fail to reconsider the motion that was made 2 weeks ago, we're not gonna carry this thing forward. We'll be the only ones sitting out here not settling, and I guess it's back to court, right, Dan?
Yes, sir, we would continue in our appellate, and when you say back in court, the appellate courts, and we have administrative proceedings which would continue before Division of Administrative Hearings.
And if we don't join in on this, it blows up the whole deal for all the others.
I hear that, and here's my struggle, Councilman Patterson.
I'm here to offer
I
a
know.
suggestion to
I know.
a situation where there seems to be
Well, I
some
get that.
closure here to it, but it's up to the council. I have been working with them, with Senator LaValla, and I've been calling, Senator Hukel and I have been talking. They would like to see this issue settled, and, move on from there.
I understand why they want it settled. I get that. For full disclosure, I spoke with Senator Latvala myself yesterday, at his request. But here's the thing. I guess I kind of take it back to our issue this morning when we were looking at the land. Just as it's not our responsibility to make a mortgage holder whole in a business deal, is it our responsibility? I don't know, can we walk away from the 9.8 or the 12.3 to clear about 2.6, maybe 3 million on a good day, depending on what 1314 comes in at, so we can get a 50-50 breakdown? That's how I'm weighing it for the future of Volusia County. The other counties, not for nothing, God bless them, but we're here making decisions for Volusia. I need to hear what everybody else has to say. I'm struggling with this one. I see the logic in it, and I understand.
Well, let me get this motion to reconsider, because if that's not going to get a second.
Well, maybe the motion to reconsider
already got a
depends
second.
on this.
Barry's already seconded.
Already
Let's
second.
All right,
let go.
Just call the.
Yeah, the motion is on the floor with a second, and we debate.
We're in debate.
Just call the vote. No, I'm good. We'll just call the vote if you want.
Okay, call for the vote. You'll wave well, go ahead and push your button. Mr. Daniels?
I'll waive.
Ms. Kuzak?
I too am struggling with this. I just, sometime when something is right to do, you may have to stand alone. And I don't believe that it's our responsibility to not do our very best to bring back funds that's due the citizens of Volusia County. And I don't know where another county might be and their feelings on this issue, but for me, I have a hard time walking away from funding that I think that's due the citizens of Volusia County just for the sake of what someone in Tallahassee is telling me they may or may not do. Because I've been duped before by the same folk in Tallahassee. And so I say that, but I'm struggling with this because I don't want to hurt us in other ways. But you can't depend on that. If I could be assured that, okay, if we do this, we will get some consideration with other issues or concerns that we have, or we may not. So I'll just be opposed.
Okay, so there's everybody that was going to speak on this matter. Okay, the motion is for reconsideration of, can I see your note, please, sir? Thank you. And I will read the motion from RC. The motion to reconsider the action taken on February 4th, 2016 at the council meeting. Rescind previous position on DJJ legislation and restate position that the following passage signature by the governor, the county will dismiss this lawsuit in consideration of having a clean slate for fiscal year 08-09 and fiscal year 12 and 13, and the state would have to refund all amounts paid to or taken and not seek payment from counties will be handled the same way, and all other counties would have to dismiss their litigation as well. That was the motion for dismissal. All those in favor of dismissal, please signify.
Before you vote,
I'm sorry.
Mr. Eckert needs to say something before you take a vote.
Right in the middle of the question.
I'm sorry. I believe all the council members understand what they're voting on, but the motion from February 4th was reconsidered, and you restated the motion on February 18th. And so,
That supposedly is the February 18th motion that was passed after the.
yes, sir, but it says to reconsider the motion of February 4th.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it says, okay, so the motion to action for reconsider is February 18th. And that is the motion that I just read was February 18th.
Please read it, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Okay. The motion for reconsideration is rescind previous position on DJJ legislation and restate the position that following the passage signature by the governor, the county will dismiss its lawsuit in consideration of having a clean slate. I don't know what that broke off there. For fiscal year 08 and 09 and fiscal year 12 and 13. And the state would have to refund all amounts paid or taken and not seek payment from counties. Counties will be handled the same way, and all other counties would have to dismiss their litigation as well.
Mr. Chair?
I'm just reading it.
The motion from the February 18th meeting, which you're reconsidering, would have had us dismiss from 08-09 through 12-13.
Right.
And the state would have either credited or refunded the money paid, all money paid, and not to charge anything from 13-14 through 15 through 15-16.
Okay, so that's the motion. Same thing I read, I thought, but okay. So, and now reconsidering would mean that this would be reconsidered. So all those in favor of reconsidering that motion, please signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Ms. Kuzak, Mr. Davis, Mr. Daniels, and Ms. Denny's are opposed. Motion fails. Okay, we're there. Anything else, sir?
Nope.
That will do it.
I will pass it on.
Pass it on. We're standing tall. All right, Mr. Wagner, closing comments, sir.
I'm still a little scared of the last vote. What's going on? I won't lie to you. They'll let us know what they zap us on.
They're going to stamp our meal cards no dessert.
Yeah.
They already have, yeah. So no soup for you.
I have a bunch of stuff to bring up, but instead of doing that, I will simply say I will be in Hawaii for 10 days, and yes, that's going to be excellent. So I have to keep it short because I have to get to Orlando to the hotel to stay for the night. So. Yes. Me and I can go on a 10-day vacation because I'm bringing my 2 kids and my wife, so I can surf and hang out and not have to do a 3-day trip. So I'm excited about that. So I'm just thankful that I get to leave, and on my flight, on my way out, I won't bring it to the airport, but before I leave Volusia County, I'll take a big puff, blow it out the window. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. To all the officers listening, that is a joke.
Right, now just get ready with the ticket. Oh, Deputy, can you handle that for us? Just write them a preemptive ticket.
That being said, in all seriousness, a bunch of great comments on social media. It's traveled very far. Everyone appreciates how we handled that situation, and I think it's going to go down the I-4 corridor. I really do. From the homeless standpoint, Hope Place, one of the most proudest moments I've had as a council member to see that that go through. We'll see dividends on that for many, many, many years to come. So I'm very excited. Thank you, staff. And as far as where we're going on the initiative for homeless adults, I feel very good about that. It's the first time I felt good about that in about 3.5 years. So great day to, again, take with me as I am going to Hawaii for 10 days.
It's a great day to go to Hawaii, right? Get out of here. Bring me back a pineapple. All right, Ms. Kuzak, closing comments, ma'am.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks to all of my colleagues for a great day. When we talk about Hope Place, folk many times ask, well, why would you run and put yourself through becoming an elected official? Today was a perfect example as to why you do what you do. And so with that comment, thanks to staff and to my colleagues and to everyone involved for a great day. We used to say this was a good day in the legislature. Well, this was a good day in county government. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Daniels, any closing comments, sir?
No, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Dennis, closing comments.
2 minor ones. Up here at the dais, is there any chance we can get a gate here? Staff has even asked. I mean, we're like boxed in, and staff is totally boxed in right here. We need to add some kind of ingress and egress for us over here.
It's done. We'll do it.
It's a minor thing. Second one is another constituent request. I promised I would bring it up, so I'm going to discuss it. On our beach passes, the request is this. On the beach pass, there are some citizens that have tinted front windows. And when we apply the beach pass to the tint and it's scraped off the next year to reapply, you ruin the tint. So, Council, I'm just asking if there's, or we want to bring it back, if there's any discussion on what to do with this particular issue. My comment to the citizen was, I can hear my colleagues now. This is, the request was, can we just put it on a piece of cardboard or something? So, Mr. Manager, would you like to
No,
address
here's what I would do. We'll look at that. I mean, if legitimately that's causing damage, we'll have to look at a different sticker you can put on the outside of the windshield or whatever. But we must have fixed the stickers, or what will be the equivalent of only need to give out one. It'll be moved around so much. So we'll come up with. It's a legitimate concern. We'll look to see if we can come up with a different sticker for people that have tinted windshields. Okay.
I was thinking the same thing.
I've never seen an entire windshield tinted. I've seen part of the windshield.
It's actually illegal.
It's illegal as all get it.
Oh, hey.
That's what it is. It's the aftermarket stuff. Yeah. But we'll
And
look
the
at it.
kids.
We'll look at it.
That's all you got. It's amazing. We put all the bulletproof padding in here, but we forgot to put the door so we can get the hell out of here.
No. We left that door off. We left that door off so nobody could could come up there. We actually
See, he's always got an answer for something. He's been waiting for that coming up.
And when the chair was talking about not inhaling, I was looking for a place
Well,
to get out
I
of
have
here.
to-
Man. Lightning was going to hit.
I have to admit, we hadn't figured on that the council wants to get out of here more than the people want to get up here. So,
Well, it is 5:44
but that's why we
p.m.
didn't put it in. But it's become more of a nuisance. So I've noticed it. We're going to change it.
Mr. Lowry.
No, sir, I'm good.
Thank you, sir. And for myself, I did have a couple of things, but we took care of it over here, and I'm going to reach out here to Miss Kelly McGee. Thank you very much. We have a problem over there in Oak Hill, and I've been getting a lot of phone calls about this one little piece of property. It's ours. It's unincorporated. There's all kinds of accusations going on. I've asked Miss McGee to go look into it. She did. And for the record, the situation is being resolved, and they have a very short period of time left to get it fixed, or things may be moving out of there that they don't like moving out of there. So we've got that under control, and that's, just want to let everybody know for the record so that if anybody listened. All right, Mr. I'm going to regret this next word. Deneen.
The only thing I want to say is I think it's interesting after almost over 7 years that Mr. Wagner's day he will think or remember that most fondly is the day we will call the Hope Dope Meeting Day. That's all I have.
The Hope Dope Meeting. Mr. Eckert. Nothing, sir. Okay, very well. Next date is, for meeting will be the 10th?
17th.
Oh,
March-
17th.
March 17th.
March 17th. Next council meeting, March 17th. Is there any objection? Ms. Cusack, for the record, will not be here for that? Okay, we will be down one, so. I will entertain a motion for, I have a motion to adjourn. Second? Any objection? No objection. We are adjourned.